The last time human beings were commodified was when it was our labor, the 18th and 19th century, when factories created sweatshops and you had child labor. And look, propaganda has been around forever, but you have never been able to actually micro-target at the cellular level of democracy, which is what human beings are, right? So if we don't have facts, then we can't have truth. We can't have trust. How do we have integrity of elections if we don't have integrity of facts?
She does not believe everything is necessarily lost, but does think if the defenders of facts don't man the battle stations, democracies are in for a very grim time. With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks.
To recap our top stories, European Council President Charles Michel urged Chinese President Xi Jinping to use his influence on Russia over its war in Ukraine. US President Joe Biden is welcoming his French counterpart Emmanuel Macron to the White House amid trade tensions. A devastating railroad worker strike in the US is now likely to be averted, and both Germany and Belgium have been knocked out at the group stages of the Qatar World Cup. That's the latest feature story news. Chris Jones reporting.
According to a report released today, the vast majority of American children lack the presence of a strong, sculpted male supermodel, with less than 4% of youngsters being taught the important values of respecting runway etiquette, maintaining a glistening six-pack, and walking a catwalk with verve and flair.
The number of strong-jawed male supermodels in children's lives has declined to record lows, leaving the majority of our youth unaware of how to get comfortable in front of the camera during an underwear shoot, or even perform something as simple as a sexy but stylish full turn.
Stanton went on to say that impoverished communities were especially affected by the lack of Adonis-like male figures, and added that children in lower-class homes were over 80% less likely to grow into the type of high-cheekboned, studly he-men that succeed in haute couture society.
Quite frankly, these children are just not getting the necessary influence of a dynamic male supermodel who can both make puppy dog eyes at the camera and also radiate that sort of raw, unabashed machismo that forces fashionistas to look up and take notice.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
It is Free Talk Live. Welcome to the program here. The number, if you want to join us, it's 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. Here tonight, it's Ian.
And Joa.
And Joa from Breaking the Flaw. That's his YouTube and or his Odyssey channel, preferably.
Thank you, Ian.
You can see him over there. Just go to Odyssey. Easiest way to get there is to go find our channel at video.freetalklive.com. That takes you right to Odyssey. And then just type in Breaking the Flaw. In the search box at the top, you'll find, is the video that you recorded this morning also on Odyssey?
You know what? I usually got to check like an hour later, but yeah, it's probably
okay, it goes
there.
to YouTube first, and then it auto kicks over to Odyssey?
Exactly, it's synced over.
Gotcha. They need to figure out a way to do the reverse. They need to figure it out to where you can send the video to Odyssey first, and then they still link to YouTube, but then they send the video to YouTube, so YouTube gets it later. There's got to be a way to do that.
I'm not sure why, but I think probably Odyssey has a lot of problems, and that's why it's like an hour later too,
Well, it could be because you do long videos, so it probably takes some processing time or whatever. I mean, your video this morning was almost 2 hours long. And it was, you were going to and by the way, we're going to get to Kanye West, a.k.a. Ye, and I guess he is called Ye now, and Alex Jones today. It's a pretty crazy situation. We got Vincent calling in a little bit. He watched it live, and he'll tell us all about the insanity that went on there. But first, the insanity in Goffstown District Court.
Yes.
This after you had been arrested wrongfully for so-called trespassing and disorderly conduct outside a debate event in Goffstown. Actually, isn't it right across the street or something like that?
From Manchester, you mean?
No, from where you got from the police station.
It's across the street from the police station, the district court there. Yeah.
Right. So you got arrested at this college where I was there. Our co-host Chris Wade was there. Bonnie was there. A bunch of people were there from the Liberty Movement. And there were a bunch of people who were there from the government movement, the pro-government movement.
Yeah.
They were there to support the Democrat and the Republican candidates for U.S. Senate. And we were there to support Liberty and Jeremy Kauffman, who was a Libertarian candidate at that time. Of course, Jeremy being ignored by the media.
Yep, and I called him out on it.
Yep, and you wanted to, maybe talk to Don Bolduc, who was the individual that was running as the Republican. He's a general.
Yep.
He's now apparently a part-time cop as well. And this character was, running around greeting his fans, and he just starts running up over to an area where you were. You were actually outside of the campus at that time because you'd been trespassed.
I was trespassed. That was just before I confronted Bolduc.
Right.
Yep. And they told me to leave the property, and I did. And they put that in the report, too. They said he went over to the public sidewalk.
But yet they charged you with trespass anyway after you kind of jogged up to Bolduc because he was jogging over to one of the corners, and you wanted to tell him he was a warmonger, basically.
Yeah, I told him end the war. Don't go to war. Don't go to war. Don't go to war.
And he immediately, I probably before even words came out of your mouth, started pointing at you and indicating
the cops
to the police to come arrest you. And they did. They obediently came over and arrested you.
Yeah, they didn't go after the two guys that were attacking me. Actually, three guys, because Bolduc assaulted me first.
Right. Bolduc actually turns around and then elbows you, sort of from not from behind, but like puts his elbow behind him and runs into you with it. And then his goons started attacking you, pushing you.
It was immediately after he threw the elbow is when his supporters touched him. But it was immediately after.
Right.
Unlike what the Goffstown police have said.
Because I think you revealed on the show last week that you had a report come in from the Goffstown police.
Correct.
You had made a report to them about you were the one who was actually the victim of the assault.
Right.
Because they didn't charge you with assaulting anyone.
They didn't.
They just charged you with trespass.
They didn't charge anyone with assault, from what I know.
Sure, even though there were multiple assaults by Bolduc's people on video.
Yeah. Onto me.
Correct.
Yeah.
But they claimed that, oh no, Bolduc didn't hit you. If anything, he accidentally touched you because one of his people ran into him and he lost his balance, or he went backwards, and that's why he ran into you. And that is absolutely not what happened in that video at all. Anyone who watches it, you can still see it over at the Freekeen Odyssey, or I think the YouTube channel as well. Freekeen.com. It's right there. It's in slow-mo. We slowed it down for you. We played it multiple times. That way you can't miss it. It's crystal clear. Bolduc has unprivileged contact with you before anyone else is anywhere near him besides his manager. His manager had run up, and he was just standing with his arms at his sides at that point. And then Bolduc just elbows you, and then the fracas.
And not only that, but the security officer from the campus, the head of the security, he actually starts putting hands on me and pushing me toward the property.
Does that show up in the video too?
There is one video that shows that, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
I'll have to look for that one again the next time I watch it, because I've been focusing on Bolduc and what Bolduc was doing.
Sure, but it's like, I guess that's, separate to what the charges are now, and, it's about trespass and disorderly.
Right, well, you say he pushed you into the property, that he had already ordered you to leave.
Exactly. And it's funny, they pulled me onto the property, right? Long story short, though.
Sure, and so you had an arraignment date that was for today. It's your birthday today. You went to court on your birthday. Unfortunately, you'd invited me to go, and I said,
it's okay.
It's just an arraignment. It's not worth driving an hour and a half.
But you saw the footage.
But you made it way more interesting, and I wish that I was actually there for it.
I wish somebody else was there besides me. Actually, that's why when they told
Manchester.
Yeah, and I know. I asked. I tried.
I mean, there's like hundreds of
not
activists
holding against anybody.
Yeah,
the thing is, though, is like, well, because I didn't have anybody else there, really made me adamant about keeping this recording going. And when they told me to turn my camera off, which happened at one point, which I did turn it off, I was fearful that I was going to get arrested and pulled away. As soon as that camera turned off.
They were getting pretty, ridiculous.
Well, what you didn't see on camera, which you can see the video live stream on my channel, it's like 2 hours long. I'm making a bunch of shorts. I haven't made enough yet.
There's a lot of good content in there.
Yes, but when you see the video cut and then all of a sudden you see me in court in front of the judge, that period where I shut it off, the sheriffs, which were instigated by the prosecutor to get me arrested, right? So the prosecutor talked to the court court officer. Yeah, the prosecutor talked to the court officer. So he was the complainant, the prosecutor. The court officer then contacts the sheriffs. 4 show up. None of them give him their ID, which I complained later about, right downstairs. Found a complaint. right away because, anyways, not a part of it.
They'll get a slap on the hand. Don't worry.
Yes. But the supervisor said, I asked him, like, before I give you my complaint, do you have to verbally, if someone asks you, give you your name and ID? He's like, yeah. All right. I want to make a complaint.
Good.
Yeah.
That was a good move.
Yeah. I always ask first without actually like dropping names or anything. Because then they'd be like, oh, well. I don't know.
Yeah.
And they would tell me, oh, he's not in the building. He was. He lied. Anyways.
These people lie all the time.
I got all the names, though.
Yeah.
I got all the sheriff's names. Anyways, back to the other part. So the prosecutor was trying to get me arrested. He failed miserably. If anything, when I got
He's mad because you didn't want to take the plea deal.
Oh, you better believe it.
It was so funny in the beginning of the video. He just offers you this plea. He's like, do you want to talk to me? And you're just, I'll listen to you or whatever.
Yeah, I said that.
And then he pitches you, I think it was a disorderly or he went with violation level trespass. That's what it was.
Yeah.
Violation level trespass instead of misdemeanor, right?
Yeah, and no fine.
And would that have been it? Would he have dropped the disorderly?
So it would have been 6 months. 6 months of good behavior. I would have to plead guilty, obwisely. And
to the trespass.
Yes, or whatever he was offering. I don't know. Actually, I kind of was like, oh, whatever.
Yeah, like, whatever.
Like,
yeah. You weren't going to say yes.
Yeah. I was actually going to say to him, I got a better deal. How about nothing?
Well, you did say no after he gave you the offer.
I just didn't want to waste my time in there. And I really didn't want to talk to the guy. I just want to hear what he had to say.
Sure.
You know, let's because when they tell you what a plea deal is and they offer you really, really like what he just did, that means they got nothing.
They got nothing.
He's got nothing.
They're desperate.
Yeah. And so
but they still won't do the right thing. They won't just drop the charges.
No.
They won't admit that Don Bolduc hit you in that video. And so we got more to say about what happened to you in court today. Because, again, like I said, there's a lot of really just crazy content. You got insulted by a defense attorney.
Yeah, for no reason at all. Like, I didn't do anything to this guy.
Yeah.
And he just thought...
We'll get into it. We'll get into it coming up here. Also, I got Vincent on the line, I believe. I'm pretty sure it's Vincent. We're going to get to him here in a moment. He was watching Ye today while he was on Alex Jones's show while wearing a completely, like, black mask. Not even like a balaclava where there's eyeballs cut out, eye holes in a mouth. Like a complete black mask.
Strange.
Very bizarre behavior and talking up like Hitler. It's pretty wild. More coming up here on Free Talk Live. Do you prefer to listen to Free Talk Live on your schedule on demand? You can find the link to our podcast at feeds.freetalklive.com, which features the daily digest of our radio show 7 days a week. Just drop our RSS feed into your favorite podcast client or subscribe to us on the large platforms if you prefer, including Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartMedia, Spotify, and Stitcher. All the links are at feeds.freetalklive.com. If the daily digests aren't enough for you and you really don't want to miss a moment of Free Talk Live, you can always sign up for our AMPS Patreon at amps.freetalklive.com for just $5 a month, and you'll get the full radio show without recorded commercials. Plus, you'll help us advertise, market, promote, and support Free Talk Live. That's amps.freetalklive.com to join AMPS or feeds.freetalklive.com to get our main podcast or find us on the major podcast platforms.
My name is Jacob Hornberger. I'm president of the Future of Freedom Foundation, which Congressman Ron Paul awarded for having an outstanding freedom website. Write us at fff@fff.org, and we'll send you a free 3-month subscription to our monthly journal of libertarian essays and our booklet, Economic Liberty in the Constitution, which George Mason University economics professor Walter Williams praised in a recent column. That's fff@fff.org.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
We have some good news. The indictments against Ross Ulbricht in the District of Maryland were dismissed with prejudice, meaning they can never be refiled. This is especially good because those indictments contain the only charge ever made that Ross engaged in murder for hire. This was a serious allegation that Ross Ulbricht denies. It was never prosecuted or ruled on by a jury, but was trumpeted by the federal government and the media as if it were proven fact. The Maryland court held these indictments for almost 5 years, poisoning Ross's case and leaving him under a cloud of unproven allegations. As explained in Ross's appeal to the Supreme Court, the fact that the judge used these allegations to give Ross a draconian sentence of double life without parole violated his Sixth Amendment right to a jury trial. Judges are required to issue sentences based on convictions decided by a jury, not unproven allegations never even charged at trial. Although this is a positive development, the dropped indictment will not set Ross free. Now, a presidential pardon is Ross's only hope of freedom. Sign the petition at freeross.org. freeross.org.
What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
I'm crazy about My Magic Mud. This is the most important oral care product created this millennium, and I'm not kidding. We all have different opinions on politics and issues, but we all have mouths. And I want yours to be as clean as possible, with teeth as bright as they were meant to be. I will never be without My Magic Mud. It's a little surprising, but man, does it work. If you only listen to one thing I say ever, go to mymagicmud.com and get 20% off with code FTL. mymagicmud.com, code FTL.
Got Telegram? You can follow our channel there and discuss show prep with other listeners at telegram.freetalklive.com.
It is Free Talk Live. You can join the show. You can bring up whatever you want. The number here is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. We've got more coming up from Joa's visit to District Court in Goffstown, New Hampshire today, and the insanity that was brewing there. We'll return to that topic, but we do have a call on the line here from a special guest caller. We'll get to Vincent here in just a moment, but I also want to let you know about Bitcoin.com, because if you're ready to start learning about cryptocurrency like Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash, then get on over to Bitcoin.com, click Get Started at the top of the page, and that is where you'll find some introductory information that will help you understand some of the basics about cryptocurrency like Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash. It is time to start learning about this stuff because it's not going away. Yeah, there's a centralized exchange that's going to fail, and there's going to be another one that's going to fail. Like, that just happens. FTX, yeah, it was a big deal for a lot of people that lost money, but that was their mistake for leaving that money on a centralized exchange. So they broke one of the prime rules of Bitcoin, is not your keys, not your coins. So you can learn these lessons, but you do have to learn about the thing you're getting into. So go to Bitcoin.com, click Get Started at the top of the page to do that. As we continue here with Vincent on the line, the host of Shire Free Media. He does a podcast about, I think, roughly 3 times a week these days. Vincent, is that about accurate?
Yes, thank you, it is.
Yeah, and shirefreemedia.com, Shire Free Media channel on Odyssey if you want to check out what he does. It's a pretty entertaining show, and I'm glad you're still at it. How many years have you been doing the show now?
Oh, goodness, that's a good question. I'd say, I think it was late 2017, so we're going on nearly 4 years now, I think.
That's coming up on 5, I think, right?
Congratulations.
Not bad.
Thank you.
Thank
you. Thank you. And it's I'm so glad you called and asked me for on this subject, because actually I've been following a lot of his stuff before Kanye even announced. Well, I mean, he hasn't announced, but he's running. But I've been focusing on these right-wing grifters and subverters, and the 3 hours or so that Kanye was on. I mean,
3 hours.
7.
Wow.
Oh yeah, I'm not exactly sure exactly how long. It was for most of the show, and it would take for for me, I mean, to go through everything, it'd be like a 10-hour, dedicated,
right,
10-hour dedicated broadcast, because there's just so much to unpack. Both a lot of subtext.
By the way, for listeners that don't know, I don't think you mentioned it. He was on Alex Jones today. Kanye West, Ye, was on Alex Jones, and as you said, 3 hours. Unlike the Tim Pool show, where he came in and 20 minutes later was storming out. It seems like that was something he intended to do. I think when he went on to that show,
maybe so.
But in the case of Alex Jones, he sat in there, dressed in what appears to be a really heavy, snowboarding jacket or something like that. He's really
so odd,
warmly dressed for what is probably.
It's not warm down there. It's Austin,
he's
Texas.
in Texas, and he's in a studio. It's probably pretty normal 70-degree temperature in there, and he's got a. How do you describe this? A gimp? I think you said on the phone with me. Go ahead.
Yeah. It looked like it looked like a leather gimp mask for people into BDSM, like from Pulp Fiction, and he refused to take it off. And he's speaking into a microphone, and Jones, he keeps saying, "Oh, people are going to say it's not real. Take off your mask." And Kanye refused to take his mask off, and apparently he refused to wear an earpiece. So at one point, Jones took a call from someone, and he had to have the call on speakerphone on radio.
Wow. Yeah, that's crazy.
You could get implanted by Alex Jones.
Now, didn't he also have the cat boy Nick Fuentes with him as well, sitting as a co-host?
Yes, he did. And Nick is no stranger to InfoWars. Jones has been shilling him. But what I find more interesting is who wasn't there. And it was Milo Yiannopoulos was not there, who's ostensibly Kanye's, impromptu campaign manager. And now for those who saw the Tim Pool interview, Milo was acting almost as if he was Kanye's handler, because when Kanye stormed off Tim Pool, a minute later, Milo said, as if he's a caretaker of a child, he said, "Let me go and see if he's okay."
Well, they did arrive together and all this. I'm just going to give a little credit on just the friendliest matter of them just hanging out for a day or two. But they've
been hanging out for more than a day or two. They're all.
I don't know what
around.
the story is.
They seem to
I know
all
that's
be
at least that.
Yeah, they seem to all be palling around together. The three of these guys. This Nick Fuentes. I only knew about who this guy was because of your show, Vincent. Because like you said, you've been paying close attention to people like Jones and Fuentes and these others you describe as grifters. Can you talk a little bit about what a grifter is when it comes to it's not exclusively a right-wing thing, but you've certainly focused on them.
Oh, yeah. So in this case, when I mean because grifter, people think of it as just like a con man, right? It's just like a money, someone who, or at least when I use the term grifter, it's someone who's into politics, who just wants to make money, and they'll say, literally whatever.
Oh, that's absolutely.
I think in this case, though, it goes beyond grifting to the point where I think they're being used as chaos agents. By someone to, it's just so bizarre. I never thought I'd see these, Milo Yiannopoulos, Nick Fuentes, and Kanye West all together. It's like an episode of The Twilight Zone.
Yeah, somebody, I forget who it was online said, I didn't have that on my 2022 bingo card.
No, yeah, I was shocked. I got a phone call this morning, and they said, "Are you watching InfoWars?" And I'm like, what, is that my thing? No. And they say, "Well, Kanye West is on today." And I didn't think it'd be so soon. I was figuring it'd be weeks. But he was, because I guess he has access to a private jet. So I point out that Milo, so I'm a little bit all over the place, but I point out Milo wasn't there despite him, essentially being his campaign manager, because Ali Alexander, who's another one of these, grifter, disinfo agents, he was in he was in studio, and now Milo and Ali hate each other, where Milo is, accuses Ali of being a pedophile, even though we're all on the same, essentially on the same America First team. And so Laura Loomer, who she's another one of these figures, she called in. She was the one on speakerphone, and she's been feuding with Milo. And she was the one who put out a bunch of DMs and screenshots where Milo just this summer, right before he got on Kanye's campaign, was saying how he thought Kanye was gay. He wants to kill Kanye for being gay, and Milo Yiannopoulos is the allegedly former gay, now militant Catholic.
Well, I think Nick Fuentes is gay. I think he's secretly gay.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's what Vincent showed years ago. He talked about on his show this Fuentes, who's like this really arch, right-wing, conservative, hate-filled person.
He is anti-Semite all the way.
Yeah, and it wouldn't surprise me if he was like anti-gay as well. I've watched near to zero of his content, but then there's this one video of him palling around with this furry, this cat person or whatever, and it seemed a little fruity to me.
Oh, Ian, there's more than one video now at this point. I'm glad you bring that up because you're right. That was years ago.
Yeah,
it was before Cantwell. That was before Cantwell went to jail. I remember that show. And since then, there's been all this other stuff where Nick comes out and says having sex with women is gay.
Oh yeah, I remember that quote. Hang on, Vince. You have time to stick with us on this, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Because like you said, this was a big interview. I'm going to try to see if we can find some clips of this insane appearance by Kanye West. Yay on Alex Jones. We got Vincent with us here from Shire Free Media. More on the way. It's Free Talk Live.
The Shire Free Church offers a sanctuary to those seeking an escape from state churches.
The Shire Free Church is an interfaith, diverse group of people that may not share identical theological beliefs.
As a member in or minister of the Shire Free Church, you are a sovereign individual and may be the faith of your choice.
We don't claim to have all of the answers.
We are open to all peaceful people.
We want to learn from each other.
What unifies the Shire Free Church and its diverse members is peace,
love,
and liberty. There are many paths to God, one for every individual.
The Shire Free Church does not define a specific path beyond these parameters that must be your foundation.
Peace as your way.
Love as your guide.
And liberty as your light.
Learn more at church.shiresociety.com.
That's church.shiresociety.com.
From Future Story News in Washington, I'm Chris Jones. European Council President Charles Michel urged Chinese President Xi Jinping to use his influence on Russia over its war in Ukraine during talks in Beijing on Thursday. The war in Ukraine and its fallout have sparked renewed EU-China tensions. Beijing says it wants peace but has not explicitly condemned Russia for the invasion. President Michel says he hopes China will use all possible tools to convince Moscow to respect Ukraine's sovereignty.
We spent a lot of time to discuss the situation in Ukraine following the war launched by Russia against Ukraine, and I had the occasion to use many concrete arguments, and especially the fact that because China is a permanent member of the Security Council, in my opinion, there is a special responsibility to use the influence of China in order to convince Russia to respect the international law and the Charter and to fulfill the international obligations.
US President Joe Biden is welcoming his French counterpart Emmanuel Macron to the White House amid trade tensions. President Macron started his visit to Washington by stating that American subsidies on US-made products were super aggressive towards European companies. Nick Harper reports from Washington.
The two countries are celebrating more than 200 years of friendship, but cracks have started to show in recent weeks over the EU's displeasure that President Biden's key legislation, the Inflation Reduction Act, provides subsidies on American-made products. President Macron says that is super aggressive towards European companies and could hurt Europe's economy at a time when it's already struggling and feeling the impacts of the war in Ukraine. A press conference between the two leaders may show those tensions, even while they try for a show of unity over common causes, like Russia's aggression towards Ukraine, countering China, and dealing with climate change.
Sticking with the US, and a devastating railroad worker strike is now likely to be averted, as Tony Waterman explains.
There are two bills headed to the Senate. One would force more than 100,000 rail workers to accept the deal with freight companies that the White House brokered back in September. That appears to have bipartisan support. But the second bill, which gives workers paid sick leave, is less certain. This is a major sticking point for workers, some of whom received no pay while out sick during the pandemic. Without a deal, workers could strike as soon as next week, disrupting food and energy supplies across the country and costing the economy billions.
And Finally, both Germany and Belgium have been knocked out of the Qatar World Cup at the group stages. Belgium hadn't been knocked out at this stage since 1998. For Germany, though, it's the second World Cup in a row they've been knocked out at the group stages, having won the competition in 2014. From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
Our Matrix server is about as free as internet chat can be. Join the existing rooms or create your own at chat.freetalklive.com.
It is Free Talk Live. You can join us here and you can bring up whatever you want. Although we're talking about Ye, formerly known as Kanye West. He is supposedly going to be running for president. And
it's exciting.
Good luck to him. He's entertaining, if nothing else. He was on the Alex Jones show today, and he made Alex Jones look like the sane man in the room, which is
real.
That's a tough thing to do. We've got Vincent on the line here from Shire Free Media. You watched a good chunk of this today, Vincent. How much of this 3 hours did you consume?
Oh, I watched the latter half of it.
Mm-hmm.
I was surprised. Usually like an interview, it goes like, especially for a 4-hour show like that, it goes, maybe an hour and a half.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like from 12 to like 3:30ish, 3 or 3:30ish. He was on, and I mean, I will give it to Ye, to be polite, that he did, he did give a bunch of extra time, because he had like a private jet he had to leave on at 2, but he decided to stay. Yeah, I mean, like I just want for people who are like long-term InfoWars viewers, I want them to compare, and this goes into my point about this. I want them to compare Alex Jones, his handling of the Ye interview, where Ye just outright says how much he loves Hitler. And Jones gives him so many times to say, "Oh, you love the uniforms, right? You just love Hitler's uniform." He's like, "No, he says
I've got that clip. Hold on, before you go on, I've actually got that clip right here. We'll go ahead and play it here from. I just went on Twitter and just typed in "Ye" and looked at the videos. One's
that easy, huh?
This one was posted by Right Wing Watch. Here's what happened.
I don't think Hitler was a good guy. I get the Hugo Boss uniforms, amazing. But I mean, just because you're in love with the design, you're a designer. Can we just kind of say like you like the uniforms, but that's about it?
There's a lot of things that I love about Hitler. A lot of things.
So insane.
Oh my God.
And this Nick Fuentes has a huge grin on his face the whole time. Has Fuentes, you're somewhat familiar with him, Vincent, having done research on a lot of these right-wing grifters over the years. We know Fuentes is anti-Jewish. We know that he's anti-gay. He's quite a nasty character. Has he come out and been anti-black before?
Yeah, he said he said the N-word on his show, and he talks about with him it's because his opinions change so often. Where he first emerged on the scene after Charlottesville, which he attended, to clean out the alt-right of people like Cantwell and Richard Spencer and the what they call the Wignat neo-Nazis. With everything, it's like everything with him is a contradiction, because he became famous and he got his own little share of what's left of the alt-right's corpse by being, the optics police and optics wars. And yet now he's on InfoWars with Kanye West, getting like millions of people watching. And he's grinning when Kanye West is praising Hitler, praising the Nazis. What was it? He claims to be a traditional Catholic, and yet there's just all this, I guess like circumstantial evidence that he's homosexual. He claims to be anti-Semitic, and yet his best friends are Milo and Laura Loomer, two very, very Jewish, Zionist Jewish individuals. He endorsed Laura Loomer for Congress, and she's an outright Zionist.
So he's going to do whatever he's going to do to get attention, basically. He's riding
Seems like
coattails,
it.
that kind of thing. So what were you going to say when I played the clip that you were referencing there? Jones is trying to get Kanye or Ye to back down from some of his statements, and he just comes right out and says that there's a lot of things to love about Hitler, and he's like saying it in a way that you can tell he's relishing in just being able to just say whatever it is he wants to, and he should be able to say whatever it is he wants. I do agree that, you know, giving this man the platform to express himself is a fine thing to do, because now everyone knows what he thinks, right? Now everybody can make up their mind about this guy. But what were you going to say about it, Vincent?
I was going to say, for people who, or I mean, you could even, well, if someone's interested, you could even look it up. Compare the way Jones acted with Kanye in studio and the way that Jones acted when he had David Duke on for an interview back when he was going to do like this interview series with like Duke and Farrakhan, where with, you know, David Duke, it was, you know, David Duke obviously was, you know, he had more tact than Kanye, and Jones, you know, it was a very hostile interview, and he ends up, blubbering, making a fool out of himself. Where, you know, David Duke was saying, I mean, was saying like a fraction of what Kanye is saying, and Jones, all but kicked him off. And then now there's Kanye in studio, and for the past several months, maybe even years now that I think about it, there's been this weird like Kanye worship on that side of the right, where Jones is saying how Kanye West is like the most important person in the world, along with Tucker Carlson and Elon Musk, and like this weird like celebrity worship. And then you see Jones have Kanye on, and it's like, part of me wonders if it was a setup, because then as it was discovered in the Tim Pool interview, Kanye and Milo met via Alex Jones's producer. And yet it looks like Jones was ambushed here, because I mean, it makes, I mean, if anyone looks even worse than Kanye, it's Alex for, letting this letting this happen. I just don't understand, because Jones has always been a very firm defender of Jewish people. His wife and children are Jewish. His new wife is Jewish. His employee, like half the people he has on his show are Jewish. And so for me, it is just so bizarre that he'd have, Kanye now, especially, and, where he knew he'd have to defend his free speech and, some of the anti-Semitic things he's saying. And
I mean, is it possible that Jones, like you said, I mean, he got just essentially shocked here. He didn't realize it was going to be like this, right? Because, I mean, previously, Ye, not having followed his career closely, the most I've seen from Ye was in the last several weeks with this whole situation. But I remember seeing clips of him on Piers Morgan, where Piers Morgan manages to kind of get him to back down, it seemed, in that interview. But now he's like gone completely back in the other direction. Piers kind of got him to apologize. Piers got him to say that he was sorry for including all Jews in his statements, because, not all Jewish people are part of this crazy conspiracy, right? So, like, it seemed like Kanye had apologized for generalizing too much, and now here he is swinging completely back in this sort of insane whatever you want to call it, anti-Jewish direction. Isn't it possible Jones just got caught by surprise here?
What? But hey, I was wondering, like, why can't Kanye just like come out and say he doesn't like AIPAC, or like, why is he going to make it so extreme? Like, it's so crazy. Sorry.
I think no, it's okay. No, it's okay. I'm glad you brought that up, because I think, and myself, other researchers, there's speculation that this is all an op, right? That someone is pulling things behind pulling the strings behind the scenes, either Peter Thiel or the Mercer family, because both of them are known to get involved in right-wing drama. And the reason I brought up Milo is because Milo is a known, is a known chaos agent, and he even brags how he has a terabyte hard drive that has blackmail on anybody who's anybody in the right-wing sphere. So some are speculating that maybe, I don't know, it could be that like Kanye is being Ye is being manipulated, or he's being blackmailed. But that this is all an op to either make Trump look bad, to make conservatives look bad, to make Christians look bad, because there's just too many is what they call glowy. I hate that term, but there's too many people are glowing, right? Too many people are radioactive in this.
That's a reference to that they could be federal agents. Is glowing like a Fed reference, like a federal agent?
It could be. I personally don't think it's the feds. I think it's probably someone very, very wealthy. But at this point,
someone wealthier than Kanye?
People.
I mean, Kanye, a $1 billion man, is being controlled by someone wealthier than him?
Well, it could be through blackmail, or it could be through.
I doubt it's through blackmail.
It's like the thing is, a lot of people, when they become right wing, they realize that their whole life has been a bunch of left wing lies, and then they go in the opposite direction, and they allow themselves to be manipulated by someone else because they gave them the truth.
More coming up here. You got time to stick with us on this, Vincent?
Oh, yeah. All
right.
Yeah.
Vincent is here from Shire Free Media, his website, shirefreemedia.com, his channel on Odyssey, Shire Free Media. You can follow him there. And we'll continue with more on what happened with Ye on Alex Jones, the insanity, coming up. Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, like, do this, right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it, and once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world, so I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here. And I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit ShireSociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, connect with others via the forum at ShireSociety.com. That's ShireSociety.com.
There are basically two types of advertising, direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, yeah, we can have a free market, a truly free market. Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing, to be able to move to a place where other people passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. It's physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project Early Movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com. If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com.
You can stick it to the man and big tech. Join our FTL social mastodon at social.freetalklive.com.
Yep, it is Free Talk Live. The phones are open, and you can join us here, especially if you want to weigh in on the situation with this Ye, formerly known as Kanye West, going completely off the rails, maybe saying what he really believes about Hitler and the Nazis today on the Alex Jones show while wearing a full-on GIMP mask or something like that. It appears to have some sort of a zipper on it, but there's no actual like eye holes or nose holes or mouth hole or anything like that, which I think frustrated Alex Jones and his producers today as they were trying to do a radio show. I mean, imagine if I was hosting the show while I'm talking through my shirt, right? Like, it really is not the ideal way to do a radio show.
But
and
he's Ye.
He's Ye. He can do whatever he wants, right? He's a billionaire. He's sitting there in a ridiculous like winter coat in a studio in Austin, Texas, and just spouting off some really crazy stuff. Even Alex Jones was looking pretty normal by comparison. I got Vincent on the line here. You caught about half this 3-hour-long
I'm so sorry.
guest appearance, Vincent, as you tend to be keeping an eye on people like Jones and some of the others on the right wing. It's kind of one of the things you've been doing for years over on your show, Shire Free Media, which you can catch over on the Shire Free Media channel on Odyssey. Welcome back.
Thank you. Yeah, I got to say, it was simultaneously the best and worst radio I've ever heard.
No, I get that.
Yeah, I mean, it's rare that you're going to get somebody like Ye with the status of someone like that on a show for 3 hours at all, right? Like, this is a person who, he's a busy guy. He's got things he's doing for his life, and if he's going to make an appearance on the media, it's going to be maybe a 5-minute interview or something like that. But to have him in a studio for 3 hours and to have him completely untethered and just saying all kinds of crazy stuff is, you could see why Jones would have him on. I mean, everyone's talking about it.
Yeah, and that's the thing with Jones and these people, and present company excluded, in the talk radio, political talk radio world, it's hard to tell what is, what's real and what's kayfabe, what's, and so afterwards, Jones, it seemed as if, because he had like a debrief or whatever where he's talking with his sidekicks, and it's almost as if he regretted having Kanye on, and he even said he only wanted to talk about the anti-Semitism thing for 5 minutes, and he wanted to, go and talk about Kanye, your life, and how amazing you are. Instead, it was like 3 hours of talking about anti-Semitism and making him look bad.
Here, let me play another quick clip here. Hang on, Vincent. This is a quickie. It's like 15 seconds here as Jones once again just tries to make a salient point, and Kanye just comes in and rains on his parade. Here he is.
So I've said it, the most Nazi-like activities I've seen, and the Nazis, in my view, were thugs that shook people down, did a lot of really bad things.
But they did good things, too. We're going to stop dissing the Nazis all the time.
Okay. We're going to get to that.
Did they get to that? Did they come back around to have Kanye explain the good things the Nazis did?
No, not that I could recall. And even from the parts that I missed, I mean, I saw some people I follow were commenting on it from the beginning, and they say that they had to play special reports and all sorts of things in the beginning because Kanye wasn't making any sense. And wow. I came across from afterwards it made me I wonder, and even Jones himself said, is Kanye autistic? Because I don't want to throw around diagnoses or
right.
illnesses and stuff, but he really did come across as and not unhinged because of what he was saying, but just he wasn't really able to make any make any, as you say, salient points. It was very manic energy, and I know people accuse, what he said, the doctors wanted to put him on lithium, and so Kanye is wealthy, so maybe he's not being manipulated via money, but I think he might be. I mean, it's just such. But he could be being manipulated mentally by someone like Milo. It could be.
Well, he did say at some point within the last, I don't know a few months or whatever it was, but he did call out a specific individual who apparently was some sort of a handler, like an MK Ultra controller in his life who had actually put him on some sort of psychotropic medications at some point. And I'm sorry, I don't remember the name. I think Luke Rudkowski actually references him.
He's like a personal trainer or something?
Yeah, something like that. So, I mean...
He was involved in, like, Canadian military. Yeah, so sorry to interrupt, but I just want to point out that Luke Rudkowski was the one who knew his name, right?
Yes.
You know, this is Kanye's personal trainer, and he's saying this guy's, you know, MK Ultra and everything. And he didn't even know his name. Luke Rudkowski had to tell him that.
Wow. Yeah, he's always seemed like, in what little bit I've seen of him speaking, I've never really considered Kanye West to be a particularly gifted speaker. He's hard to follow, but every now and then he'll say something like, well, before the whole Nazi thing, but I've seen him make some points that they're a little out there, but I've liked kind of the content of what he was saying. I was able to get his message, but he's not a very good person as far as expressing himself.
No, not at all. And I think that in my view, just sort of to at least, you know, wrap up at least, you know, my theory, I think that someone, you know, that Milo is being the someone associated with Milo or is behind Milo, giving the money. Maybe it's the Mercers, maybe it's Peter Thiel or someone who has a bone to pick with the American conservative right wing, particularly Donald Trump, as Milo himself said. He will have vengeance on Trump, and then somehow he's meeting with him at Mar-a-Lago. I think that they're using Ye as like a focal point. Because he gets attention, right? He might not be very eloquent, but he knows how to get attention.
Yes, anything he does gets attention.
It could come out later where Kanye goes, hey, I can't believe they let me say all these things on Alex Jones. That really shows the qualities of Alex Jones now, doesn't it? So basically he's setting up Alex Jones to allow all this anti-Semitism on his show, saying not kicking him off his show. Just allowing him to do it.
I wouldn't kick a racist off either. I mean, we've had Chris Cantwell on this show, and I kicked him off as a co-host, but Chris has always been welcome to be on this program to express himself, because I think that and I think Alex Jones would agree, you know, it's valuable to have people with negative viewpoints so you can actually speak and respond to those viewpoints. So I don't see that being the case here. But you brought up Trump, Vincent. It was kind of one of the things that started this whole tour where Ye has been kind of making these right-wing media appearances. He was on Tim Pool. He's now on Jones. But before Tim Pool, and the reason why Tim Pool had him on was because they went down to Mar-a-Lago together, and they had dinner with Donald Trump where Ye asked Trump to be Ye's running mate. So the whole thing was a troll job on Donald Trump, it seemed like.
Yeah. It appears that way. That was funny. I'll give it to Ye that. That it also made Trump. It didn't just troll Trump. It also made him look bad. Now that's not very hard to do, especially when Donald Trump does a good job of that himself. But by bringing Nick Fuentes there, right? He's like the toxic luggage, and so that's why some people think this is from This is a whole plot by Conservative Inc. to use Kanye to basically discredit the alt-right, what people call like the grassroots, conservative GOP movement, whatever you want to call it, that this is all being done to just make Trump look bad and make DeSantis look sane by comparison.
Do you think Kanye is not going to run for president after all this is done?
Well, he ran, he spent like $12 million and got on the ballot in like 6 states in 2020, and he has much less money now, especially since he's getting audited by the IRS. I don't think so. I mean, maybe they'll make an announcement. And
I say he does.
But so far for being very tight-lipped, especially since Milo Yiannopoulos was a staffer on Marjorie Taylor Greene, a congressional staffer for Greene, and I think there's some sort of law, I haven't seen it, but I'm pretty sure there's a law that says you can't be a congressional staffer and a campaign staffer. It violates some FEC thing.
Well, just have to quit one or the other then. In that case.
Yeah, so they're not saying so far, like they say he's not running, but Nick Fuentes is going to be his comms director, and Nick is putting his show on hiatus to work for Ye. So like something looks like it's happening, but I just can't really say. I mean, like I didn't think he'd be on InfoWars today, so. Yeah. Sorry, I can't predict that far in the future if he will or not. But if he does, I guarantee you it's not going to be serious.
It's a wild thing to watch some of this, that's for sure. Vincent, did you feel like there was more you wanted to comment on here, or we pretty much covered the basics?
No, I'd say that's pretty much the pretty much the basics. Yeah, I just think that for anyone who's interested in this story or interested in Ye. Definitely see what Milo does next. There's definitely people pulling the strings, some sort of dark money. And yeah, I mean, like the fact that I never thought this would happen, honestly. Like a month ago, if I told myself, if I heard this call from a month ago, this whole segment, I would have been, nice April Fool's Day edition. So I think someone is getting desperate, or just things are getting crazier.
It is crazy.
I'm waiting for Kanye's jaw to get wired shut again.
Thank you for the call tonight, Vincent. Appreciate you spending some time with us here as you are out traveling the circuit around the country, the flyover country. Appreciate you being here, and check out Vincent over at Shire Free Media on Odyssey. That's his channel. You can access it through our channel over at video.freetalklive.com. Just type in Shire Free Media into the search. Thanks, Vincent. More coming up.
Thank you.
Are you about to meet the media? If you're about to be interviewed, do their homework for them. Know this about the person who will interview you. He or she is busy, so expect minimal, if any, preparation. He or she doesn't know as much about your topic as you do. He or she isn't as concerned as you are about getting your message out, so you need to take responsibility. Provide a biography and fact sheet, photographs, or other materials that tell your story. Reporters won't be put off if you supply frequently asked questions. Remember, Public Speaking 101, at the end of the speech, what's the one thing you want them to remember? You can download the document I supply to reporters who interview me and squirm through a video that demonstrates how not to conduct your media interview at www.survivalspeech.com. I'm Holland Cook.
Have you had enough of the big-name web hosting services that are long on promises but short on bleeding-edge features, uptime, and customer service? Try Agorist Hosting, the agile web host that offers full concierge service from website redesign, full e-commerce solutions, custom apps for your Shopify store, IPFS integration, and more. Agorist Hosting is ready to take your web presence into the future. To get started, head over to agoristhosting.com.
What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next, after the news, here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Future Story News in Washington, I'm Chris Jones. European Council President Charles Michel urged Chinese President Xi Jinping to use his influence on Russia over its war in Ukraine during talks in Beijing on Thursday. The war in Ukraine and its fallout have sparked renewed EU-China tensions. Beijing says it wants peace but has not explicitly condemned Russia for the invasion. President Michel says he hopes China will use all possible tools to convince Moscow to respect Ukraine's sovereignty.
We spent a lot of time to discuss the situation in Ukraine following the war of Russia against Ukraine, and I had the occasion to use many concrete arguments, and especially the fact that because China is a permanent member of the Security Council, in my opinion, there is a special responsibility to use the influence of China in order to convince Russia to respect the international law and the Charter and to fulfill the international obligations.
US President Joe Biden is welcoming his French counterpart Emmanuel Macron to the White House amid trade tensions. President Macron started his visit to Washington by stating that American subsidies on US-made products were super aggressive towards European companies. Nick Harper reports from Washington.
The two countries are celebrating more than 200 years of friendship, but cracks have started to show in recent weeks over the EU's displeasure that President Biden's key legislation, the Inflation Reduction Act, provides subsidies on American-made products. President Macron says that is super aggressive towards European companies and could hurt Europe's economy at a time when it's already struggling and feeling the impacts of the war in Ukraine. A press conference between the two leaders may show those tensions, even while they try for a show of unity over common causes, like Russia's aggression towards Ukraine, countering China, and dealing with climate change.
Sticking with the US, and a devastating railroad worker strike is now likely to be averted, as Tony Waterman explains.
There are two bills headed to the Senate. One would force more than 100,000 rail workers to accept the deal with freight companies that the White House brokered back in September. That appears to have bipartisan support. But the second bill, which gives workers paid sick leave, is less certain. This is a major sticking point for workers, some of whom received no pay while out sick during the pandemic. Without a deal, workers could strike as soon as next week, disrupting food and energy supplies across the country and costing the economy billions.
And finally, both Germany and Belgium have been knocked out of the Qatar World Cup at the group stages. Belgium hadn't been knocked out at this stage since 1998. For Germany, though, it's the second World Cup in a row they've been knocked out at the group stages, having won the competition in 2014. From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks. Today, the threat posed to democracy by misinformation and the social media conglomerates that spread it. Our guide is Nobel Peace Prize winner Maria Ressa, a Filipino-American journalist who describes the existential threat facing democracy in her new book, How to Stand Up to a Dictator.
Given how our information ecosystem has been corrupted, the world is turned upside down. Lies are rewarded, right? So imagine even in your family, if you teach your kids, if you lie, I'm going to give you a reward for it. That's what the world has been through. And it is creating a new market for human behavior, for prediction of human behavior. You know, the last time human beings were commodified was when it was our labor, the 18th and 19th century, when factories created sweatshops and you had child labor. And look, propaganda has been around forever, but you have never been able to actually micro-target at the cellular level of democracy, which is what human beings are, right? So if we don't have facts, then we can't have truth. We can't have trust. How do we have integrity of elections if we don't have integrity of facts?
She does not believe everything is necessarily lost, but does think if the defenders of facts don't man the battle stations, democracies are in for a very grim time. With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks.
To recap our top stories, European Council President Charles Michel urged Chinese President Xi Jinping to use his influence on Russia over its war in Ukraine. US President Joe Biden is welcoming his French counterpart Emmanuel Macron to the White House amid trade tensions. A devastating railroad worker strike in the US is now likely to be averted, and both Germany and Belgium have been knocked out at the group stages of the Qatar World Cup. That's the latest feature story news. Chris Jones reporting.
After months of struggling to find their footing, it looks like the GOP has finally found an effective spokesman. Since Republican leaders unveiled the reanimated corpse of Ronald Reagan at a fundraising event last week, the undead former president has quickly emerged as the new face of the Republican Party. Since Reagan was brought back from the grave by GOP leaders in a top-secret $2.2 million reanimation project, poll data shows Reagan with a higher favorability rating than all other high-profile Republicans combined.
The voters know Reagan. They trust Reagan. When he moans at them, they're going to listen.
There's questions as to whether he still has capacity for thought, and he does eat people, but big picture, he's the best option they have right now.
And appeared in a series of GOP ads promoting the Republican Party's traditional values.
Congress and the president say they're trying to help fix our country's economy. Ronald Reagan and the Republican Party have the right idea for America's future.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
It is Free Talk Live. You can join the show here. Bring up whatever you want. The number here is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. Here in the studio tonight, it's Ian.
And Joa.
So we spent a good chunk of the first hour talking about Ye.
Yeah.
Formerly known as Kanye West, who appeared today on the Alex Jones Show for apparently 3 hours.
Yikes.
And obviously, we've only seen clips of it. We just had Vincent on from Shire Free Media, who saw about an hour and a half of it, the last half, apparently, of the interview, and was just, it's pretty stunning, some of the things that happen. And one of the things I said earlier was Ye is not somebody who is like the best at expressing himself. I wouldn't give him a talk show host job, even though he's really, really popular. Just because I mean, you might want to just do it. Might just do it anyway, just for the attention, right? Like that's why you have Kanye on your shows, because everyone who is his fan and everyone who hates him is going to tune in to see what sort of insanity comes out of his mouth next. However, he still says things that are kind of interesting sometimes. And I've got another clip here from the Alex Jones show. We're going to get back into what happened to you this morning in court here in a moment. But since we're still talking about Ye and this crazy appearance where if you haven't seen this, it's one thing to hear this clip. It's another thing to see this man wearing what appears to be a GIMP mask. I would not have noticed this. You really can't tell if you're watching the video like in a small window or something like that. You really have to, see this on a full screen. You can then see there are actually zippers over his eyes. So it's definitely like kind of a GIMP mask thing. The zippers are closed. You cannot see his face in any way, shape, or form. It's a full black mask over his face. He's got a very bulky coat on the rest of his body. I didn't mention this before. He's got a Holy Bible sitting in front of him as well during this interview here. And so I'm going to play another clip. This one, actually, Ye himself retweeted this one from his Twitter account.
Accounts because they've been frozen by the Jewish banks. So I need to watch my meals.
Well, CNN says white people are evil Nazis, so I mean, I disagree with both statements, but I get the frozen.
I don't like the word evil next to Nazis. I think we need to look at.
Wow.
I mean, he's even making Alex Jones uncomfortable. Jones is having a tough time dealing with this guest.
Oh, my goodness. Just because you don't like one group doesn't mean the other. But look,
I love Jewish people, but I also love Nazis.
Now, that to me is the most interesting thing he's said, because I don't disagree with him. And I am against Nazis. I am not in favor of racism. I'm against racism. I'm against bigotry. But that doesn't mean that you cannot love your enemy. Right? It doesn't mean that you cannot love these people. For instance, I'm being prosecuted right now. I'm facing, I don't know how many years in prison. It was 400-something. It's lower now because they've dropped a bunch of charges that they actually finally came out with a public list today of the few charges that they're going to keep on me. They're dropping like more than half of the charges against me.
Good.
But before they dropped those charges, personally, I had forgiven these people, right? Like I don't go around like talking about this or whatever, just personally. I'm bringing it up now because of this comment, but I don't hold ill will towards these people. I think they're wrong for what they're doing to me and my friends who pled guilty, unfortunately, in the Crypto 6 case. If you want to learn more about it, go to thecrypto6.com. And I don't appreciate the things that they're doing, but I don't want to hate them for it. I understand that they are people who probably think they're doing good. I don't think most people in their position are thinking, I'm an evil person. I'm going to destroy people's lives.
Well, the whole process is decompartmentalized, I can't say the word. And that means, like, they have all their little hands into it, but they don't really know the big picture. And they're just, taking orders and they're doing what they have to do. And they think that they're doing right.
Yeah, I think that they think that, and they're wrong about that. It's like, why people just don't understand why I don't get angry with the police as well. It's like, I forgive them. They're my confused brothers and sisters, and if I had made different choices in my life, I could have been one of them. Like we're only a few choices away from being someone who is completely different than who we become. So I get where he's coming from with that statement. I think a lot of people are going to take it in the wrong way. I think a lot of people cannot understand how you could love someone who's doing wrong or evil or something like that. And that's why a lot of people have a tough time, emulating Jesus, right? Because Jesus, and, to Ye's credit, he is at least consistent in this way and is like Jesus in this way, in that, Jesus preached loving your enemy. He preached forgiveness. And I was looking at a thread of some of the comments that people were making about this particular clip, and there was a lot, as you might expect, of like, well, Nazis don't deserve forgiveness, and, things like that.
He does. One of his most popular songs, too, is Jesus Walks With Me. right? It's
okay.
Yeah, that's some of the lyrics. I don't know exactly the title of the song, but it's fascinating that, he's taking on all these sort of positions, but at the same time, he's also Christian.
Mm-hmm.
I hate to break it to Kanye. Hitler was Jewish.
Was he really?
Well, he had Jewish ancestry, yeah. I just want to throw it out there. Yay, if you're watching, call in and we can talk about it.
Yeah, I doubt he's watching, but who knows? It seems like he's willing to get booked on all kinds of shows. I don't chase guests around.
He goes on radio shows and ruins them.
I'll tell you what, if he came on this show, we'd have all kinds of virality instantaneously. But we're not. We don't have the status, I don't think, of some of these other shows.
If someone's out there listening, call his producer to call here.
But yeah, like I said, I don't chase guests around. But if if somebody wants to try to book him, I'll take him.
Yeah,
I'm not going to put Nick Fuentes in a chair here. We only have one extra chair, so Kanye would have to come here. He'd have to come here by himself.
Yeah.
Fuentes can wait outside.
There's an airport nearby you can fly into.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, private jets come in there all the time. That's true. So I think that's enough, though, from Kanye. I mean, I wanted to play that last clip because I do understand where he's coming from there. You can love someone who's doing evil. You can forgive
Great spin,
that person.
Ian.
Yeah,
Great spin. I'm not saying you're not being honest. I'm just saying I don't think that's his position. But
well, that's what he said.
I know, but I think he's actually loving what they. Do you think he really is loving the Holocaust?
I think he denied at one point the Holocaust during this interview.
All right. I don't know.
And there's actually another clip on here somewhere where he actually says he's a Nazi. Apparently. I don't have it in front of me right now, though, but he at some point does say that he is a Nazi in this interview with Alex Jones.
I wouldn't be surprised if he shows up on the next radio show with the Ku Klux Klan outfit on or something.
Here it is. All right, so this is another one from Blaze Music Media on Twitter.
I'm tired of hearing I'm a Nazi. I'm really, because I'm not. But I think by them falsely accusing people, some people are going to become Nazis.
I am. Now what? I am.
You're what?
Now I'm a Nazi, Ari Emanuel. Isn't that?
I mean, there you go.
That seemed like a very attention-seeking moment.
He's absolutely attention-seeking.
That was not. He is not a Nazi. He's just saying that to get the attention.
How do you know?
Right now.
How do you know he's not a National Socialist? I mean, does being a Nazi mean that you have to be, anti-black? Or does it just mean that you have to be a National Socialist? That's what Nazi stood for, right?
Next time you see Yee out in public, someone's not singing reciting the poem of the Pledge of Allegiance. See if he starts,
the Pledge of Allegiance.
Yeah, that's the most Nazi thing in America.
That's Christian socialism, but yeah, I mean, socialist is socialist.
It was created by a National Socialist.
I don't think he described as a National Socialist. I don't think that existed at that time. I could be wrong about that. I believe the term was Christian Socialist for Francis Bellamy, but I could be wrong about that. If you want to weigh in here, the number is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. Your thoughts on Ye and just the absolute insanity. Where does he go from here? I mean, he wasn't that interesting as a musical artist to me at all, but he is definitely more interesting in his new role as crazy masked man going around.
He can go to Germany, hang out over there.
There you go. But I don't think they'll take him at this point. They've gone too far liberal socialist for him. 603-283-6160. You can join the show. We got more on the insanity in court. Maybe we'll find some clips of this too, although there's a bit of profanity from some of the court employees.
Not by me.
Right. Today. We'll get back into it. Coming up here, it is Free Talk Live.
Free Talk Live.
The people that fought the Korean War and, frankly, the Afghan War won because those people are the military-industrial complex. And what they wanted is they want things that go boom to go boom so that they can build more things that go boom. That the purpose of the war isn't freedom, it's not justice, it's not any of these higher concepts that, in fact, that the lives, minds, and bodies of the people that are going out there and fighting for these wars, that they are inconsequential to the politicians and the people for whom they work.
So you're saying the state won these wars, Vietnam and Afghanistan. The state won, but the individuals who fought the war, they're the ones that took the brunt of it. They're the ones that lost.
That's right.
And I totally agree. They do enough to make it seem like they're doing something and to keep us happy enough just to control it.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com.
Hi, I'm Derek J. To me, an activist's calling is to actively work to advance a cause. The cause for which I work is personal freedom. I believe my life is best when I engage in voluntary interactions and self-government. I reject the idea that anyone else has a higher claim to my life or my body than I do. I see people who call themselves the government as a threat to my personal freedom. I realize you may feel differently, but my relationship with the people who call themselves the government is completely involuntary. If Starbucks used some of its money to drop bombs, I wouldn't shop there. So why would I support the American empire? The empire does not require my consent.
Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. Watch it for free and order the Director's Cut DVD at victimlesscrimespree.com. That's victimlesscrimespree.com. If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com. So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com.
Don't miss a moment of Free Talk Live. Get our archives daily via our podcast at feeds.freetalklive.com.
It is Free Talk Live. The phones are open. You can join us here. The number is 603-283-6160, whether you want to comment on Ye and the insanity of his presidential run. With you in the studio tonight, it's Ian.
And Joa.
He was on the Alex Jones show today and just saying some pretty insane stuff. Even Jones didn't know how to handle it. It made Jones look like a pretty reasonable guy and made Kanye look really crazy. But we talked a lot about that. Of course, you're welcome to join us here on whatever's on your mind. And you need to know that, well, you probably already know that government school is a failed institution. 1 out of 5 graduates functionally illiterate. 75% of high school students are unhappy, and 63% of them are disengaged. And according to the CDC, 19% of them are considering suicide. It's far past time that you stop subjecting your children to this madness. And your child can have the same elite education found at Oxford at an affordable price. There's a highly acclaimed, globally known educator named Michael Strong who's launched an online academy called the Socratic Experience, where students learn through philosophical dialogue and are engaged in a highly social and inspiring learning environment. The Socratic Experience nurtures your child's unique genius. It's a proven school. Their students get into the most prestigious universities and highly selective companies. And you can mention Free Talk Live and get 20% off your first year's tuition. Go to SocraticExperience.com/FTL. You can download the parent guide there at SocraticExperience.com/FTL and get that great discount, the 20% off. SocraticExperience.com/FTL. Class space is limited.
I love the name.
It's cool.
Yeah.
I've looked into this a little bit. I think it's a pretty cool thing. I think if you are interested in getting your kids out of the government school and getting them out of private school too, because this is a home teaching course, right? Like it's online learning.
Well, the Socratic method is an important method in journalism to get to the
asking questions.
Yeah, asking questions, but asking them in certain ways. So that way, you can kind of trap people into answering the deep question.
Have you studied this? Because you seem pretty good at trapping people with questions.
Well, just know that, you're setting yourself up by asking the wrong questions. So you got to ask the right questions at the right time.
Well, plus, if you're answering questions, you're losing. That's the old sales adage. He who's answering the questions is losing.
And that's another thing about the Socratic method is to almost always answer back with a question.
Yes.
Yeah. Just to clarify further what the other person's asking, it can be kind of testy. It can be kind of annoying. But you know what? It works in journalism. It really brings out the question, and the reactions people give when they don't give an answer is also important.
You've got a lot of experience dealing with these bureaucrats. You're basically a professional First Amendment auditor. That's kind of what you do.
I never heard of it as a professional.
Well, you get paid for it.
This is true. This is true.
That makes you a professional, and I suspect there aren't that many people who get paid to do this kind of work.
There's a lot of auditors that do get paid.
Yeah.
But not like...
We need them to move to New Hampshire.
Yeah. Oh, my God. I wish.
Yeah.
We could start giving sort of clemency. Like, allow them to come here, and we're going to ignore the charges against them.
Refuse to extradite.
Yes, to these other states. Well, specifically for, activism.
Yeah.
We could try to set something up here. That's a great idea.
Yeah, you should talk to some state reps for
I think we should
talk
to some state reps about this.
So you were at a courthouse this morning on your birthday.
Yeah.
You were there for an arraignment in Goffstown District Court. This was in regards to, I don't want to keep telling the story over and over again. You can go to freekeen.com and watch video of Joe being attacked by General Don Bolduc,
and arrested for
lost
trespass.
The loser, Don Bolduc, subsequently was arrested. They didn't charge Bolduc, they charged you, and so that's why you were in court today. You're just trying to go to your arraignment.
Yeah.
You're just trying to go to the arraignment. You filed a stupid piece of paper, which you shouldn't have to file, but they get all crazy if you don't have your piece of paper.
Yes.
So you filed the dumb piece of paper that's not a motion to record. You're not asking permission, and you make this point, I don't know how many times in this video.
I make fun of it, too, because it's ridiculous, because, all right, if we don't notify the court, we're not allowed to do it. No, you are allowed to do it. In my opinion, notification to the court about you recording is you walk in with your camera. That's enough notification for them, and they just make sure they notice it,
Right.
And that's it.
That's it.
And you can walk into court. But they want me to fill out this form, and I never give them my name.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
What do you write on there?
I wrote Breaking the Flaw.
Okay.
So I did write my,
the channel name.
Yeah, my professional name.
That's fine.
I can say it now. But no, yeah. So I did that, and no one respected it. I mean,
they always act like, and you can see it in this video, by the way, over at the Breaking the Flaw channel on Odyssey, in the long video, and you're putting some clips up of this, but there's an almost 2 hour long, hour and 45-minute one where you've got their stupid piece of paper in your hand.
Yes.
And you point out to them, this is a notice. I'm not asking for permission. That's the difference between a motion and a notice. A notice is, hey, I'm here. I'm doing this thing. In case it wasn't obvious, I'm doing this thing. Here it is on your piece of paper. And they all act like, well, I've got to go ask the judge.
Yeah, the judge hasn't signed off on that yet. I don't need the judge to sign off on it. I just need to notify the judge 30 minutes prior.
And then they started acting like you could only record your hearing.
Right.
At this district court, which is supposed to be an open hearing so anyone in the public can go and record or watch these hearings. And they cooked up every possible excuse to not let you into this courtroom.
I got to correct myself. I said and nobody would let me, or nobody respected it. That's not true. There's only one person that did. I'll tell you in a second.
Okay.
But yeah, the court officers, the prosecutor tried to get me arrested by contacting the court officers, and then the court officer called the sheriffs. And here's another thing, too, is when I went downstairs, I didn't tell him who I was. I didn't give him my name. I just said, I want the call that came up here, right? So I'm like kind of remaining anonymous. I didn't give him my name yet. The supervisor comes out from the sheriff's office and gives me a printout of the complaint or like the incident. And it had my full name, my social security number and stuff on it. I'm like, look, I didn't give you my name. I didn't tell you who I was. You're handing me this information of me.
Could have been anyone.
It could have been anyone.
Right.
You don't know who I was. The guy didn't know who I was. The supervisor had no idea, and I called them out on that too. This is wrong. That seemed like that seemed like intimidation, and not only that, but they were trying to see if I would flop up and show my social security on live stream. I think that's what they do because like I show off the paperwork and stuff, and I had to look at it real quick, and I realized, oh, it has my social security number on it. What the hell? You know. But anyways, that happened afterwards, and filed a complaint against all 4 sheriffs for not giving their name or IDs, and verbally too. Verbally, that's the point. They were just like, "It's right here. It's right here." You know that whole press NH now thing. What's your name? It's right here.
Right here, officer here. First name right.
Oh man, and so they threatened me with arrest and contempt. Or
contempt?
For
what?
For me recording, and if I didn't,
in the hallways or in the court?
In the hallway, just outside the clerk's office. And
well, you've backed them down in 2 different courthouses now. You were in Brentwood District Court when you did this, when a lone sheriff officer comes up and starts trying to intimidate you and Footloose into not recording, and y'all stood firm, and he backed down on that one. And you didn't get arrested today either. So kudos to you for this, because this has been a losing issue for the activists here in New Hampshire for about a decade. They put this rule into effect because of us in Keene.
That's right.
It was because of the Keene activists recording in court consistently, because this was the only place in New Hampshire where people were consistently going to court.
And this was 11 years ago to the day.
That's about right, yeah.
Because I looked at the paperwork of when it got instated. December 1st, 2011.
Wow.
Yeah, 2011.
Yeah, so they made this order, and they made it apply to all the courts in New Hampshire that you can't record outside of the courtroom, and apparently you can, and you should be able to. More coming up. On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp, is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
You can help more people hear the message of liberty by joining Free Talk Live's AMPS program on Patreon for as little as $5 a month. And you'll get access to special perks. Visit amps.freetalklive.com, amps.freetalklive.com.
From Feature Story News in San Francisco, I'm Ira Spitzer. French President Emmanuel Macron and U.S. President Joe Biden have praised the strong alliance between their 2 countries after a meeting at the White House. As the first state visit of the Biden administration, it signifies the importance of the relationship to Washington. FSN's Kate Fisher reports.
With the exit of the UK from the European Union and the retirement of Germany's Angela Merkel, French President Emmanuel Macron has become an even more important ally for the US, especially as they work to support Ukraine against Russia's invasion. President Biden said the 2 countries were united in standing up to Putin, and that he would meet the Russian president if he showed a willingness to end the war.
We're going to continue working together to hold Russia accountable for their actions.
But there were also differences of opinion. President Macron said Joe Biden's legislation subsidizing the US electric vehicle industry could put European EV manufacturers at a disadvantage. Today, Biden said he was confident the 2 could work out a deal.
Voting has begun in the Indian state of Gujarat, which is also Prime Minister Narendra Modi's home ground. Experts say these state elections serve as a litmus test for the upcoming national elections in 2024. Sriyoshi Mukherjee reports.
Political analysts say Prime Minister Modi's Hindu nationalist party, the Bharatiya Janata Party, is expected to win its 7th consecutive term in Gujarat. The BJP has also not lost a state election in Gujarat since 1998, and Mr. Modi was the Chief Minister of the state for almost 13 years till he was elected as the Prime Minister of India in 2014. But this time around, experts say the BJP is facing some heat from the Aam Aadmi Party. Only formed 10 years ago, they are currently the governing party in Delhi and Punjab, and they appear to be the main opposition party to the BJP in Gujarat. The results of this election will come out on the 8th of December. Political experts say an unanticipated slip at a state level may lead to a tough competition for the BJP nationally in 2024.
U.S. stocks ended lower Thursday at the start of December. Fears of a recession continue despite easing inflation and signs of a slower pace of rate increases later this month. FSN's Jody Jacobs reports from New York.
The S&P 500 slipped 0.2%, while the Dow Jones Industrial Average erased nearly 300 points, with the Nasdaq up slightly by 0.13%. In other market news, the US dollar index fell to a 3-month low. Initial jobless claims, the most timely snapshot of the labor market, came in at 225,000 in the week ending November 26, a decrease of 16,000 from the previous week.
From Bureaus Worldwide, this is FSN.
We're still not sure why you'd want to watch, but our video feed is streaming nightly for free at cam.freetalklive.com.
It's Free Talk Live, and you can join us here. The number is 603-283-6160. We're talking about standing up for your rights in a courthouse. Believe it or not, you still have them, but it isn't easy to stand up for them.
No, it wasn't.
Because you were literally one man versus the entirety of the bureaucracy of this Goffstown District Court this morning, Joa.
Yes.
Unfortunately, you were there all by yourself.
Yes.
And it's a bummer. We need more people who are willing to come out to events like this. But anyway, that aside, we're going to continue that discussion here, and you can check out more of Joa on Breaking the Flaw. That's his channel on Odyssey. You can go to Odyssey through our channel at video.freetalklive.com. Subscribe to us, and then type in Breaking the Flaw into the search box up there, and you will find his latest videos, including some really golden clips from today's nearly 2-hour
They're just one after another, really.
Live stream. Yeah, there's really a lot of good content. You sent me the link to the full-length one today. I was trying to watch it. I got through about a half an hour, and it was there's a lot in just the first 30 minutes. But this is from that first 30 minutes, so I did see this one earlier, and I'm going to try to blank it when this guy curses at you. You're just in a hallway at the courthouse.
Yes.
You'd already had the meeting with the prosecutor where he tried to cut a plea deal with you,
right,
in this case, on a completely victimless crime case where you're the actual victim of an actual crime where the person who assaulted you, General Don Bolduc, has not been arrested, has not been charged, and police apparently do not intend to arrest him because they're protecting their man, basically.
Sure.
But you're facing criminal trespass and disorderly conduct charges. The prosecutor offered to basically whittle it down to a violation level conviction.
Yeah.
But he still wanted you to plead guilty and would still put you on probation or whatever for 6 months or suspend the sentence or something. And so you're just kind of heckling the prosecutor in the hallway a little bit as he keeps walking back and forth. And at one point you're like going, snake. He walks by.
I actually, so the reason why I was staying in the hallway is because I was waiting to get into the court.
They wouldn't let you in.
And I wanted to be in the court right away because I didn't know when they were calling me.
Yeah, how would you know?
So I had to stand over there. Yeah. That's how I felt. So if they have a problem with me standing over there.
Right, and you're trying to record video, which is your right to do, but the courts don't like it. In fact, they actually have a policy that threatens people with contempt if they do record outside of the courthouse. And the claim is, it's to protect the victims and the children or whatever. And it's like, that's such a lame claim because, look, if you wanted to, if you were actually there to record children or beaten wives or something like that, all you'd have to do is stand out in front of the damn courthouse.
That's right.
And they can't say diddly to. I mean, they could try saying it to you, but they certainly don't have as strong of a position to try to enforce those rules outside of the courthouse. They won't even try it, I don't think, in most cases. But when you're in the courthouse, these robed people, they call themselves judges, they truly believe they are the gods of that dominion, and they have these men, the bailiffs and such, and the sheriffs, who will literally do anything they're told to do. So you're standing in the hallway, and this is what happens.
I'm letting you know I've done this 1,000 times, and I got notifications. You can't tell me. Look at this prosecutor here, guys. They're threatening me. That's because you're.
All right, I had to mute the guy because he
Excuse me? I've never sworn once, and you're going to call me that? Yeah. What's your name, sir?
He called you an a-hole. I couldn't put the clip on the air here.
No, you did just in time.
Because you're trying to tell me what to do. You can't tell me what to do.
I'm not telling you nothing.
You're not going to swear at me and get away with it.
So the thing is, as you learn later, the guy who swears at you and calls you an a-hole, he's not even like the prosecutor's guy.
Some random guy at this point to me, you know.
You learn later in this clip that he's a defense attorney.
I feel about the proper paperwork.
This is maybe 10 minutes later, 15 minutes or something like that.
Sir, can I get your name, please?
Yeah, my name's Ray Ramo. I'm a defense lawyer here in town.
Appreciate that. I'm going to be filing a complaint.
Ray Ramo? Was that what it was?
Ramos, I think so.
Well, make a note, because you don't want to hire this guy. No one who is in the Liberty community who's looking for any kind of defense representation in New Hampshire should hire Ray Ramo or Rayno or whoever the hell it is from Manchester. This guy's a tool, and he totally loves the government.
Against you to the bar.
Good idea. I have been exercising my constitutional right, sort of like you are, only I'm doing it properly and you're not. But
Okay, so I actually filled out a form. I filled out a form that said I can record in here, so you're saying I'm not. You're slandering me.
By the way, he's walking away as you're talking to him. He's not interested. He wanted to like shoot his little load and then walk away.
You're slandering me. No. You just assumed earlier.
So you said you were going to report him to the Bar Association?
Sure, why not? Yeah, I mean, I've done it before.
Have you really? Did it result in anything?
Yeah,
Really?
it's a strike on them. And if they get 3 strikes, they automatically get disbarred.
Are you sure it's automatically
This is Rhode Island that it happened.
Okay.
But after 3 strikes, after 3 founded complaints, it was a founded complaint, by the way. The complaint that I did with the bar was a founded complaint. They basically wouldn't give me my original discovery, this former lawyer that I dropped, and I wanted all the original paperwork, and he wouldn't give it to me. So I went to the bar, I made a complaint. Next day, I go to my former lawyer, and he has to give it to me. And it was a founded complaint. And if you get, in Rhode Island anyways, I don't know, it's probably similar in every state, but once you get 3 complaints, you automatically lose you temporarily lose your bar license, and you have to go in front of a judge to try to get it back.
Wow.
And they almost always grant it back.
Sure, because they're buddies.
Oh, yeah.
They're all judges. All of them are attorneys, you know?
Yeah.
At least here. In some places, judges are actually elected, but in New Hampshire, they're appointed.
Yeah.
So I don't think you can get in as a judge unless you have a law degree.
Now, I didn't put all the shorts out, but so you're gonna.
No, there's a lot to cut up from this thing.
So. Yeah, but I think it was important to bring up the one person that was good about it.
Good about
recording in court.
Record this. Wasn't he like the court security?
Well, at first, yeah. So that's another short, and he did agree with me. If you want to play that, you can, but maybe should I just spoil it before you play that?
Which one is it? Officer Not Confused? That one?
So no, it's not a short yet. I haven't made it yet.
Okay.
But if you watch the long video, I go in front of the judge, and I ask the judge, I have the right to do this, record in court, and she goes, yeah, I don't have any objection to that. And or whatever she said, I forget exactly what she said. And I was like, I can record all day here if I wanted to. And she's like, yeah. So the sheriffs, the court officers, the prosecutor, all of them, they look like fools, right? When the judge was saying that and confirming that with me.
Were they actually there to watch her say that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. And it was just
good for you.
I really
for
put them in their place.
Yeah.
And this was after the fact, But
they're still going to give you the same hassle next time you come in.
Right.
They're still going to do the same thing because there's no punishment for them. They have no consequence for just lying through their teeth about what the rules are. Oh, I'm going to ask the judge. Oh, you filled out the form. That's all you had to do, and you didn't even have to, in my opinion.
No,
I don't think you
I
even
don't think
have
I have to either.
But there's only so much you can challenge all.
And I'm
once,
alone,
right?
and I need to make sure I can record, and I don't want to go
and you got
too far off.
And you've got a hearing. See, now it would be interesting. I don't know if you want to do this or not, but it would be interesting for you to just go back for any old arraignment where you don't have, because they happen all the time, right?
Yeah.
Like they're every week or a couple times a week. So you just go back, Tuesday or whenever, and 9 a.m. or Monday, at whenever the next one is, and then you just show up, like you put in the dumb form and say all arraignments, right?
Yeah. Well,
and then see what happens.
I did tell the judge too. Well, I think I'm going to be back before my trial.
Okay.
Just to test it.
Good.
I said that to her.
Yeah, that way you don't have the same pressure of I got to be in a place at a certain time. I have a court hearing.
Right.
Then you're just there to test do a First Amendment audit. Right?
Yeah. Yep.
That's what you do.
Yeah. And as soon as the clerk opened at 8 a.m., I was the first at the counter to fill out that form.
Wow.
So, because I knew I might have to wait, a half hour before I get into court.
Yeah, and you shouldn't have to do that either. And all of this is just completely arbitrary hoop jumping that the New Hampshire Supreme Court has put up to make people's lives difficult.
Yeah.
All you should do is, like you said, bring a tripod, bring a camera, put it up, and then you're on. Now, I understand the reason for one rule that they have, which is to say that if there's like a particularly busy hearing and there's like a ton of media that wants to record the hearing, well, they do have to let normal people into the room, right?
Yeah.
So, like, I can understand the rule for pooled coverage. That makes sense to me. It never happens up here because there's hardly any media that comes to the court, so it's very rare. Every now and then there's a high-profile case.
That's why they didn't know how to handle it. Because not many times people don't do it.
All right, we got more coming up here. You can share your thoughts. Check out Breaking the Flaw on Odyssey and YouTube. That's Joe's channel for the full story. There's more coming up. The Free State Project has reached its goal of 20,000 liberty lovers who've pledged to move to New Hampshire and get active to achieve liberty in our lifetime. Perhaps you're trying to figure out what part of New Hampshire should be your destination. If so, consider Keene. You'll find more than 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com. Keene is famous for its historic, publicity-generating activism, as well as being the liberty media capital of the world. It's home to freekeene.com, New Hampshire's destination for liberty activism, news, and opinion. For years, we've been compiling over 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com, where you'll learn about some of what's happening here and what makes Keene a great place to live. If you love liberty, you'll probably enjoy anywhere you end up in the Shire. But do your due diligence first. Please visit move.freekeene.com for the full list of over 150 reasons to move to Keene. That's move.freekeene.com. The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount. What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
As if Amazon Prime wasn't worth it just for the free shipping and hundreds of movies, thousands of TV shows, and millions of songs on Alexa, I'm Holland Cook with Inflation Hacks. Browse Amazon Warehouse for deeply discounted open box deals on computers, TVs, unlocked phones, lots of returned merchandise, and Amazon Renewed sells refurbished merch. In both cases, like new, and and guaranteed replacement or refund for 90 days if your purchase doesn't work as expected. I could not tell that several refurbished items I've bought weren't new. Manufacturers like Apple and Samsung also sell refurbs on their own websites. Most come with a new battery, and they carry a 1-year warranty, so they're new to you. How are you coping? Post your inflation hacks at andyoucanquoteme.com.
Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. chat.lrn.fm.
Are you tired of your taxes funding endless occupations around the world? Antiwar.com is run by people who understand that wars abroad become wars at home, wars on our freedoms. Antiwar.com is dedicated to bringing you the latest in news, views, interviews, and reviews from the top movers and shakers in the anti-occupation movement. Antiwar.com has it all, from thorough foreign policy analysis to interviews with whistleblowers who used to run the military-industrial complex. Anti-war, pro-free market. That's antiwar.com.
You can help spread the ideas of liberty with our Patreon for just $5 per month at amps.freetalklive.com.
It's Free Talk Live. You can join the show here. You can bring up whatever you want. The number is 603-283-6160. Phones are open as always. That's 603-283-6160. There is some actual news that we can talk about here in a little bit. In fact, I got one I think that'll fit right in with the theme of what we've been talking about here with standing up for your rights. There's a gentleman who is going to court for live streaming a traffic stop.
Oh, come on.
We'll talk about that story in a little bit. The number here is 603-283-6160. It's something that both you and I have extensive experience with, and also you and I have a lot of experience in dealing with these court bureaucrats.
Yeah.
I mean, in my case, and you know what you should have done, you might have had it with you but not really realized it, when you borrowed a camera from me recently, and I gave you the free Keen Supreme Court pass.
I mentioned that in court. I mentioned that in court too. It's like I didn't have to fill out the 1-day pass.
Yeah.
I had a.
Oh, okay.
I said it's back at home, but I said I did it for convenience to use the 1-day pass.
Okay.
So I just kind of I made that up, but I mean, not really. It was very inconvenient for me to go back home and grab that.
Sure. And that's why I carry it with me all the time, because these a-holes are always wanting you to jump through hoops. It's like, well, if I'm going to jump through damn hoop, I'll jump through the one hoop at the Supreme Court level, and then I'll just carry around the permission slip and wave that in their face if they give me a problem. And usually that works.
You've been notified.
Usually it works. Sometimes they still get all uppity and say, well, I don't care. You still have to fill out the paperwork. But that's pretty rare that they'll do that, because usually if they see something from the Supreme Court, then they shut up and
it seemed like
away.
Goffstown District Court was a little dusty. And they need a little refresher.
Dealt with an activist. I don't recall ever. I've never been there. Like I've never. No activist that I'm aware of has ever had a case out there. So
I was talking to someone the other day, and they were saying it's been years since anyone's actually had to go to court or anything in Goffstown.
It must be just in Goffstown, because I know there's people who have gone to court in Manchester before. I've been there for those hearings. So what else? Was there more from your hearing today that you wanted to share with our audience about the ridiculousness?
The prosecutor's trying to have bail conditions against me.
Oh, yeah, talk about that. What were the initial bail conditions? Because you said you got them changed today.
Yeah, so they, no drugs and all that. And the other one was revoking my Second Amendment right, not being able to carry a firearm or deadly weapons and all that stuff.
Which you already had revoked from a different court.
Yeah, for something else, but that's another thing.
Yeah.
But I questioned it. I said to the judge, like, why does my Second Amendment right have to be, taken away for this? And she actually found it unreasonable.
Wow.
And so she took that off. So I have it here.
Okay, good.
Of her crossing it off in the report.
So you still can't do drugs, though?
No, I still can't do drugs.
Man.
I don't think anyone's allowed to do drugs. And then, yeah, so she crossed it off here. Number 5, shall not possess firearm, destructive device, dangerous weapon, or ammunition. And then she
kind of a crappy way to
initiated it.
cross it off. She just kind of like
because she initially did do it.
She just kind of scribbled more in the checkbox, basically.
Well, because she basically already checked it off, and then she's like, "Is there anything you go against on this?" And I was like, "Yeah."
Well, she actually gave you the chance to.
Yeah,
Oh,
she seemed pretty like lenient, and like she agreed with me on the recording in the court.
Yeah.
She had no problem with that. She had no objections.
Oh, by the way, were there any other victims in the court? People who were there for other arraignments?
There
when
were
they
a
called
couple
you
other
in?
people in there. Yeah,
Okay.
so, they wanted me out of there quick, I think. And because this happened, like it wasn't too long after I had to shut my camera off. The sheriffs threatened me with contempt if I didn't shut my camera off or my live stream, which I just basically touched the power button, and when that did is it forced the circle of death on YouTube. Everyone's looking at the circle of death on my live stream, so that when I'm ready to go back into court, I can just turn my YouTube back on and it continues.
Okay.
So that way you can watch. You'll see at a point where the sheriffs are threatening me, and then all of a sudden it turns off, and then I'm in court. Right.
Gotcha. And it was like 15 minutes between there?
Probably not that long.
Okay.
Yeah, it was actually pretty short. So that's when they wanted me in out of there quick. But yeah, so I have this, and it says I can't return to the campus, which is fine. I don't really want to go back to
go there.
Yeah, no way. Actually, I think Soren, what's his name?
Jason Soren's the founder of the Free State Project.
He works there.
He does, yeah.
Okay. All right. It's kind of funny. I thought it was kind of a weird relation there. But it's because if they called me a free stater and used that discriminatory term, it would have been funny. It would have been kind of funny. But yeah, so that's it basically.
All right, so you're going back next month. You've got another hearing, and hopefully we're going to try to get more people to turn out for that one.
Right, right.
It's hard to motivate people to go to an arraignment, and and these libertarians, they just don't like to go to anything before noon. So it's tricky.
And they were talking about this is one other thing is the $40 bail, and it's like it still says refused on there, which is kind of fun.
But to be fair, there were a good amount of people that came out to get you from the jail.
Oh yeah, yeah. I was actually shocked there was that many people there.
There's
It was
definitely
awesome.
support. Sometimes we just need more people here. We need thousands more liberty activists
Absolutely.
here. Like some people, they're afraid. Honestly, they're afraid of dealing with the government thugs.
And I don't blame them. I actually question myself about why I'm doing this so much.
It's addictive.
It is.
It's fun and it's really it's empowering to stand up for yourself.
Yeah,
and stand up for your rights.
It's not about the money. Money is great. It's definitely a benefit.
There's no money in this.
But I know it's a little bit, but it's I don't know. There's other YouTubers in the area that make decent money.
For First Amendment activism?
Yes.
Wow.
Absolutely.
In this area?
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
Pretty sure
good.
Press NH now is full time.
All right. Well, I'm really happy to hear that. I'm glad that people are able to actually make a living off this because it's important work, and I'm glad people appreciate it.
He gets 50,000 views as soon as he posts it.
What does that turn into for what's 50,000 views get you as far as a payment? Like $50?
If it's a 20-30 minute long video, you might be getting like $300-$400 for that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and you get some serious money.
Not bad at all.
I really know. I can't say for sure what he's making on it because he doesn't tell me.
Well, plus it helps if they actually wrongfully arrest you and then they have to cut you a $15,000 check.
Oh, it's gonna be a little bit higher than that,
something.
Ian.
You think so?
Sure.
Okay.
There's conspiracy going on right now.
All right.
There's extra things going on. I think this is they should have learned their lesson from Manchester. They should have
They
looked
never
into
learn.
me.
They
Doesn't
never
matter.
learn.
Well, guess what? You keep anteing it up then until they learn. And that's the
I
thing.
I appreciate that attitude. That's
Yeah,
good attitude.
this is the thing. I'm telling you guys, we all need to start suing these departments for all these little things. It's tough. I know it takes some money and some time, but if we can
Well, there
get
needs to be an attorney out there whose job
Yes.
is to back up these guys, like people like you,
Yeah.
the First Amendment auditors who are getting into hot water. There's got to be a go-to guy. Now, there's a couple of Free Stater attorneys, but they're not the go-to.
they're
guy
almost
on
they're
this.
almost there, and
They're always busy.
yeah.
They're always.
I've had
loaded
good
with
results,
cases.
and don't get me wrong, but
You should talk to John Meyer. You should talk to
Okay.
my old attorney from the Robin Hood case. If he's still practicing, he's pretty old.
Okay.
But he took the Robin Hood case for free, And he did that case on pro bono, and he just cleaned those people's clocks. And you're a free speech guy, so it would fit within his wheelhouse.
I would love it. I would love to see it.
And he's there in Manchester.
And if he's old, that might mean he might want to take.
He knows his S.
Yeah. If he wants to take on a case because he's he doesn't have anything to lose at this point. Yeah, right. For fun.
Yeah, he does it for fun,
or just for freedom.
Well, that too. I mean, obviously, he's motivated by freedom of speech. That's what he is. He's an award-winning, formerly with the ACLU attorney.
Okay.
This guy knows his stuff.
Wow, first time I'm hearing about him.
If you've ever watched the Robin Hood court hearings, you'll see how good he is. I mean,
Fantastic.
He is just amazing. And of course, we won the Robin Hood.
I mean,
case.
if anyone's listening, I would love a lawyer on a federal level right now. I have some serious things that I think someone would take it on. So if you know a lawyer that wants to take on a slander case, let's go. Let's do it.
Yeah, I don't know why I didn't even think of him when you'd asked me before for attorneys. I guess I was thinking criminal, and I thought, because you got arrested, right? So I didn't think free speech, because he's not a criminal attorney.
Yeah,
he's a free speech attorney.
I got it. I put it in your mind when I gave you that coin. That's what it was.
There you go. All right. So speaking of free speech and recording video, it's back in the news again. The story from the Washington Post that when police pulled over the car in Winterville, North Carolina, after a Walmart run in October of 2018, Dijon Sharp was wary and ready. From the passenger seat, he opened Facebook Live and started to speak directly to anyone watching. As one officer ran the driver's license, another grabbed Sharp's phone and issued a warning. The officer said, Facebook Live, we're not going to have, because that lets everybody on Facebook know we're out here, the officer said.
Well, no duh.
He then said he would make an exception, but that, quote, in the future, if you want a Facebook Live, your phone's going to be taken from you, and if you don't want to give up your phone, you'll go to jail.
Take me to jail.
Yeah, well, we'll find out what happened in this story here coming up in moments.
Was that your North Carolina voice?
I was trying, yeah.
Yeah, I worked.
Okay. The number 603-283-6160. You can join the show here. We'll find out what happened with Mr. Sharp and the police for recording as a passenger. It's Free Talk Live.
Is oral health important to you? If you don't like your own teeth, fresh breath, or kissing people, then by all means, stop listening. Several years ago, I met Jessica Armand, founder and CEO of My Magic Mud, and I became passionate about the product that she created and never want to live without it. It's clinically proven to whiten teeth, but I find it does much more. They want you to love My Magic Mud as much as I do, so they're giving you a money-back guarantee plus 20% off. Go to mymagicmud.com and use coupon code FTL20 at checkout. mymagicmud.com, FTL20.
Gold and silver. You can own the most stable assets in recorded history with BullionMax.com. Buy direct from BullionMax.com without talking to a salesperson, and your precious metals ship fully insured directly to your home. Free Talk Live can get you their silver starter kit at employee pricing. Just go to BullionMax.com/FTL. It includes 5 ounces of the most desirable silver products plus a free gold bag. This offer is limited to 1 per household, so get yours now. Go to BullionMax.com/FTL.
There are basically 2 types of advertising: direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Feature Story News in San Francisco, I'm Ira Spitzer. French President Emmanuel Macron and U.S. President Joe Biden have praised the strong alliance between their two countries after a meeting at the White House. As the first state visit of the Biden administration, it signifies the importance of the relationship to Washington. FSN's Kate Fisher reports.
With the exit of the UK from the European Union and the retirement of Germany's Angela Merkel, French President Emmanuel Macron has become an even more important ally for the US, especially as they work to support Ukraine against Russia's invasion. President Biden said the two countries were united in standing up to Putin and that he would meet the Russian president if he showed a willingness to end the war.
We're going to continue working together to hold Russia accountable for their actions.
But there were also differences of opinion. President Macron said Joe Biden's legislation subsidizing the US electric vehicle industry could put European EV manufacturers at a disadvantage. Today, Biden said he was confident the two could work out a deal.
Voting has begun in the Indian state of Gujarat, which is also Prime Minister Narendra Modi's home ground. Experts say these state elections serve as a litmus test for the upcoming national elections in 2024. Sriyoshi Mukherjee reports.
Political analysts say Prime Minister Modi's Hindu nationalist party, the Bharatiya Janata Party, is expected to win its 7th consecutive term in Gujarat. The BJP has also not lost a state election in Gujarat since 1998, and Mr. Modi was the chief minister of the state for almost 13 years till he was elected as the Prime Minister of India in 2014. But this time around, experts say the BJP is facing some heat from the Aam Aadmi Party. Only formed 10 years ago, they are currently the governing party in Delhi and Punjab, and they appear to be the main opposition party to the BJP in Gujarat. The results of this election will come out on the 8th of December. Political experts say an unanticipated slip at a state level may lead to a tough competition for the BJP nationally in 2024.
U.S. stocks ended lower Thursday at the start of December. Fears of a recession continue despite easing inflation and signs of a slower pace of rate increases later this month. FSN's Jody Jacobs reports from New York.
The S&P 500 slipped 0.2%, while the Dow Jones Industrial Average erased nearly 300 points, with the Nasdaq up slightly by 0.13%. In other market news, the US dollar index fell to a 3-month low. Initial jobless claims, the most timely snapshot of the labor market, came in at 225,000 in the week ending November 26, a decrease of 16,000 from the previous week.
From Bureaus Worldwide, this is FSN.
With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks. Today, the threat posed to democracy by misinformation and the social media conglomerates that spread it. Our guide is Nobel Peace Prize winner Maria Ressa, a Filipino-American journalist who describes the existential threat facing democracy in her new book, How to Stand Up to a Dictator.
Given how our information ecosystem has been corrupted, the world is turned upside down. Lies are rewarded, right? So imagine even in your family, if you teach your kids, if you lie, I'm going to give you a reward for it. That's what the world has been through. And it is creating a new market for human behavior, for prediction of human behavior. You know, the last time human beings were commodified was when it was our labor, the 18th and 19th century, when factories created sweatshops and you had child labor. And look, propaganda has been around forever, but you have never been able to actually micro-target at the cellular level of democracy, which is what human beings are, right? So if we don't have facts, then we can't have truth. We can't have trust. How do we have integrity of elections if we don't have integrity of facts?
She does not believe everything is necessarily lost, but does think if the defenders of facts don't man the battle stations, democracies are in for a very grim time. With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks.
The main news again. French President Emmanuel Macron and U.S. President Joe Biden praised the strong alliance between their two countries after a meeting at the White House. Voting begins in the Indian state of Gujarat, which could be a litmus test for upcoming national elections in 2024. And U.S. stocks end the session lower despite easing inflation and signs of a slower pace of interest rate increases later this month. That is the latest feature story news. Ira Spencer.
The members of Twisted Sister announced they are now willing to take it. A local man is seated next to Lou Reed on a roller coaster, and in retrospect, a band teacher was probably gay. And now a digitally remastered recap of the summer's music news. Baby Baby Love Ya Girl is now the nation's #1 song, despite no one claiming credit for singing, writing, or producing it. Here now is a short excerpt of the track.
Baby, baby, love you, girl. Baby, baby, love you, girl. Baby,
Members of the music industry call the hit single the most creatively brain-dead wasteland in modern recording history. And they say they would gladly lose millions in royalties rather than face the shame of having been involved in it. After a slap-faced filibuster from rubber band Minority Leader Bootsy Collins, the National Funk Congress remains deadlocked over the controversial Get Up, Get Down issue. Proponents of the measure favor getting on up and staying on the scene like a sex machine, while detractors are vehement in their belief that Americans need to get down with their bad selves.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
It is Free Talk Live. We're kicking off the third hour of the show. As always, you can join the show and bring up whatever you want. The number is 603-283-6160. We're talking about your right to record when you are in a public place, also your own private place as well. You have a right, as I understand it. I mean, I'm not a lawyer, but it's something I've looked into.
Wait a second. You're not a lawyer? It doesn't matter. You should know the law, Ian.
Well, I don't know what all the laws are.
Oh, really? That's what the government's supposed to, that's what the government tells us.
You can't possibly read all those.
No, but that you're supposed to know.
Yeah, it's a load of crap.
Oh, so it's like a boondoggle to try to follow all the laws?
It's impossible. Anyone who thinks about it, for like 2 seconds should be able to figure out, first of all, number one, most people have never read jack diddly as far as laws are concerned.
Right.
Number two, if you tried, you would quickly learn that it is an impossibility. So the whole idea that ignorance of the law is no excuse is a ridiculous claim. It's what they say is that phrase originally came about because the original law was natural law.
Right.
And ignorance of that law, there's no excuse for.
Right.
You know you should not hit somebody else. You know you should not harm another person. You know you shouldn't steal from them. That's all you need to know.
But ironically, today, it wasn't me that was ignorant of the law. It was everybody else. It was the sheriffs. It was the court officers. It was except for the judge.
Yeah, with your situation,
she respected it. I wouldn't know if she knew it or not. Maybe I refreshed her on it. I don't know.
Check out Breaking the Flaw. The latest videos there from this morning were pretty ridiculous. We played a couple of them last hour, and of course you can grab the show later on.
I'll have more shorts out soon.
Check out Breaking the Flaw on Odyssey and YouTube. But here's the story I wanted to get into with you, Joa, since we both have plenty of experience recording video and or live streaming at a traffic stop. The gentleman in North Carolina, Dejon Sharp, who happens to be black, by the way, whether that's important or not to the story. The officers pulled over his friend who was driving, so Sharp grabbed his cell phone and started streaming on Facebook Live. And then one of the cops said, "We're not going to have Facebook Live because that lets everybody on Facebook know we're out here. In the future, if you want a Facebook Live, your phone's going to be taken from you, and if you don't want to give up your phone, you'll go to jail." Sharp expressed skepticism as he continued to record. "Is that a law?" he asked. "That's not a law," he said. Whether it's legal is now before the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Fourth Circuit.
Well, that's kind of scary. It has to go to appeals about recording.
The case is important, said Sharp's attorney. It's going to affect thousands of people. He said in an oral argument last month, the case, he says, has important consequences for every police-citizen interaction in this circuit. No circuit court has yet ruled on whether passengers in traffic stops can be blocked from recording police or on whether live streaming is different from merely recording, and the Fourth Circuit has not ruled on the right to record at all. So, I mean, I find this to be shocking that anyone considers this to be some sort of a controversial issue or that it needs to still be decided upon, and that the Fourth Circuit has never even heard a case about recording a police officer.
Maybe not. But, the thing is, it's like common sense. But, let's go. Let's take this all the way. Let's make some, some hard law on the books about this so that the police can be put in their place about it.
The story here says it's not a clean case in terms of precedent, and that's what makes it complex, said Clay Calvert, a law and communications professor at the University of Florida. New technologies kind of push the boundaries of things. This is how law evolves, he said. Sharp, who's now 27, said he preferred live streaming because it was clear to viewers the footage wasn't edited or out of date.
Exactly. I love live streaming exactly for that reason. However, it's not always the best quality.
No.
So it's always good to have a backup.
He says this isn't pre-recorded. This didn't happen last year. It's happening right now. I'm not just making this up, he said. Live streaming on Facebook also creates an immediate record that prevents police from seizing a phone and deleting footage before it's released, he noted. Quote, it's just more secure for the community or the individual, unquote. At the time of the stop, Sharp's cousin was still in prison for a murder committed over 2 decades earlier, despite a key witness recanting her testimony almost immediately after trial. Dante Sharp, the cousin, was released in 2019 after 24 years in prison and formally pardoned in 2021 for his wrongful conviction. Since getting involved in efforts to free Dante, Dijon says his encounters with police grew increasingly hostile, culminating in him being tasered and beaten by police officers in 2017. Now, just to clarify, the instance with the cell phone was in October of 2018.
Figures, yeah.
With no video to support his version of the events, he says in court he was forced to apologize to the police. He said, I made it my business to always record traffic stops, especially when I'm involved, he said. He also thought the Winterville stop was suspect. The driver was accused of running a stop sign, which Sharp said in the video wasn't true. Sharp said he viewed the argument that his live stream would endanger the officers by drawing more people to the area as ridiculous. He said, quote, everyone in the world knows there are cops out in the world. I just knew he was fishing for a reason.
That's all they do. Most of the time, that's what they're doing. If you have an account with a police officer and you know that you're a good person, they're likely just fishing on you. But go ahead.
A district court judge in North Carolina found the safety concern was compelling enough to protect the town and its police officers from the lawsuit. So apparently, Sharp sued after this particular incident. Now, it doesn't say whether he got arrested. It sounds like he didn't in this case. So they just snatched his phone from him, stopped him from recording, and then proceeded on with whatever harassment they were doing against the driver. He said, let's see, quote, contemporaneous messaging applications, this is from the judge, allow the individual recording and those watching to know the location of the interaction and to comment on and discuss in real time the interaction, the judge wrote, which is, he says, distinct from recording but not live streaming. 7 federal appellate courts have affirmed there's a First Amendment right to film the police, but all said there can be so-called reasonable restrictions on that right, and the U.S. Supreme Court has not clarified what counts as reasonable.
I don't know how the live stream would be unreasonable. I can't fathom how it's unreasonable.
Well, the argument is that someone could come down there.
Oh, so they're afraid of, it's for officer safety.
Officer safety.
You can't live stream because of officer safety. Right. God, come on.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah. But how about, hey, you know what, for officer safety, don't pull people over because you are endangering yourself on the side of the road.
Somebody could just clip you.
That is actually, that's the number one way police officers die.
That's a fact.
By roadside pullovers and getting hit by another car. That's and they want to talk about officer safety. Bring that up next time they pull you over on the road.
So it's going to be interesting to see where this one goes. It's definitely maybe this is a new argument. I don't know if I've heard this one before. Again, they're saying this is going to be the first time that live streaming would have been in question as far as recording the police going up to a appellate court level.
Right.
So it'll be interesting to watch this one. We like it when people find out where the police are pulling people over. That's something that is absolutely the intention. I mean, this guy is denying it, but it's absolutely the intention to let people know what's happening. So if they are available, they can respond. Because here in New Hampshire, that's happened on many occasions.
Yeah.
I have put down whatever I've been doing before when I get the word that somebody is needing assistance or whatever.
And this is also why I like the app Cell 411 is because you can notify everyone where you are.
I don't know whether it's in a workable status.
It's okay.
Right now,
I believe in its progress of sorts.
Someday it will come back.
Let's go.
To usable status. I've heard there's some bugs right now, so I don't know. Your mileage may vary. If you download Cell 411, I cannot say for sure how it will go. But if you want to help Cell 411, please, this app, Nobody is our friend. He is the head programmer now for this app. We took over. It was dying, basically.
Yeah.
The app was on its deathbed. And we basically, put the what do you call those paddles that you rub together and you put on somebody's chest, they're having a heart attack or whatever. We did that with Cell 411.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a mess.
I just know that he was working hard on it right before the raid, and then
and they screwed that up for 6 months.
Yeah, exactly.
So they really tried to ruin that effort. But check out getcell411.com. There are links there to the Cell 411 chat rooms on Telegram and Matrix. And if you have programming ability, or even if you're not a programmer and you just want to be a tester, you want to test the new testing versions of Cell 411, he needs help with that stuff. So please go to getcell411.com, click the menu at the top right, and you'll find the links to the chat rooms there. You can get in touch with Nobody and some of the other people there. But there's more coming up on this particular case and the question of live streaming on the way. Join liberty-minded voluntarists, anarchists, and libertarians from June 15th through the 18th for the 7th annual Fork Fest at Rogers Campground in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. Fork Fest is a fork of the Porcupine Freedom Festival, which sold out in 2022. For 2023, we're going back to where it all started, the weekend before PorcFest. ForkFest is decentralized, which means that there's no ticket cost and no one is in charge. All you have to do to join the fun is reserve your camping site, RV site, or motel room with Rogers Campground for June 15th through the 18th. You can find out more at the unofficial website forkfest.party. You can also connect with other attendees on the ForkFest Telegram and Matrix chat rooms, as well as the ForkFest forum. You can find links to those at forkfest.party. We hope to see you there June 15th through the 18th. forkfest.party.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless free market non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
Do you prefer to listen to Free Talk Live on your schedule on demand? You can find the link to our podcast at feeds.freetalklive.com, which features the daily digest of our radio show 7 days a week. Just drop our RSS feed into your favorite podcast client or subscribe to us on the large platforms if you prefer, including Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartMedia, Spotify, and Stitcher. All the links are at feeds.freetalklive.com. If the daily digests aren't enough for you and you really don't want to miss a moment of Free Talk Live, you can always sign up for our AMPS Patreon at amps.freetalklive.com for just $5 a month, and you'll get the full radio show without recorded commercials. Plus, you'll help us advertise, market, promote, and support Free Talk Live. That's amps.freetalklive.com to join AMPS, or feeds.freetalklive.com to get our main podcast, or find us on the major podcast platforms. What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
Have you had enough of the big-name web hosting services that are long on promises but short on bleeding-edge features, uptime, and customer service? Try Agorist Hosting, the agile web host that offers full concierge service from website redesign, full e-commerce solutions, custom apps for your Shopify store, IPFS integration, and more. Agorist Hosting is ready to take your web presence into the future. To get started, head over to agoristhosting.com.
Yep, we still do email. Drop your email address in the entry box at freetalklive.com, and you'll be kept in the loop with Free Talk Live.
Yeah, it is Free Talk Live. The phones are open. You can join the show here. Talk about live streaming the police. Turns out they don't like that either. They just don't like any kind of accountability. They begrudgingly have had to give way due to various different lawsuits over the years. Of course, the Glick decision is one of the most noteworthy ones. But did Glick go to the Supreme Court, or was that just an appeals decision? Do you know?
I like to think it was a Supreme Court decision.
I feel like it was, but I don't know. We'll have to check on that one. But it came from the Boston courts, and
Yes.
Carla Garrick, also the Free State Project president for some time, she had a pretty important case in the First Circuit as well on recording the police. So recording the police in general is a pretty, affirmed thing that is pretty hard to go against for the cops. So now their new target is people that they believe, because they couldn't really know, right? Unless they did what they tried to do in this case and snatch somebody's phone from their hand and actually look at the app and see what's happening there. If you're just holding up a cell phone, it doesn't necessarily mean you are live streaming. Right?
No.
Because you can record video straight to the SD card or whatever, or the internal memory on the cell phone. So just because somebody's got a phone in their hand doesn't mean you get to jump to the conclusion that, it's a phone, it must be a live stream. They don't know.
Yeah, that was a wicked assumption.
So, well, I don't know. And we thought they grabbed the whole phone from him, but we just watched a clip of this.
Tried to grab it, and it came out of his hand for a second.
And he seamed to get it back pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So, how the cop would have known in that instant. I think they went later. They found his. They knew who it was, right? And
But weren't they mentioning it though there on the scene? They were mentioning it there on the scene.
Yeah, that's true. He did say
Yeah.
Facebook Live.
Yeah.
So maybe they just saw it that fast or whatever.
Well, it's funny because Press NH Now, a friend of mine, he's also a cop watcher. He went to DHHS, the Department of
Health and Human
Services, where people get their welfare or SNAP cards, whatever, in Manchester, and they trespassed them. And so he called me right away. I was like, Joe, you want to go film this place? You might get arrested. I'm like, yeah, let's go. I'll get arrested. And this was last week. And so I went there and did my thing. They called the cops, but never showed up. Long story short, he pulled the records. And they
Which
said...
records?
Of the phone calls.
To the police.
The phone calls that they made to the police about both of us.
Okay.
And it was interesting what they said about me, because they said, oh, he's Facebook streaming. They said I was Facebook streaming. And I was YouTube
weren't.
streaming.
Okay.
But it's just funny, I know. I don't like doing things Facebook. I just started my Facebook account up again.
YouTube's
recently.
bad. Facebook's probably worse.
Oh, it's terrible. When I had 5,000 friends on Facebook, I might have got 30 people watching.
Maybe Dijon in this case actually mentioned that he was streaming to Facebook.
Maybe
I don't know.
so.
We didn't
I don't
watch.
know.
We didn't get to see the whole video. We were trying to find it. We were only able to find a Young Turks interview of them that kind of played a clip.
I did find his Facebook page, so I can find it.
Yeah, we'll see if we can find it. But a little bit more about this story here. So it's going to court. The government's arguing essentially that, live streaming is different from recording. Yeah, you can record, that's fine. But if you're live streaming, then somebody might see it and come over there. Well, what's the difference between somebody seeing the blue lights flashing and coming over? That's happened before. I've seen police pulling people over. We've done this in downtown Keene more times than I can count, where we've seen somebody getting pulled over, we'd be hanging out in Central Square or something like that when we did the nightcaps in 2020 and 2021, and somebody get pulled over, and we're just okay, let's go over there, and we record video of what's going on, and that's just a thing that we do. So any police activity could attract looky-loos. It could attract people who know their rights, that want to go and help somebody, that want to go and communicate that person's rights to them. I have done this to the extent where I got pulled. You'll love this one. I don't know if you saw this one back in the day, but probably several years ago, I was in the college area in Keene and doing, just the usual kind of cop watch, cop block stuff that was going on or whatever. Some guy gets pulled over, and one of the things I like to do is I've got a cop block Know Your Rights card. I've got those cards with me. That's usually why I'm in the college areas. I'm handing out hundreds of these things to the partiers on like a Friday or a Saturday night or whatever. And so this dude in a truck gets pulled over, and usually what I'll do is I always ask, because I've had too many circumstances in the past. It happened back before Cop Block even existed. Before Cop Block, it was Cop Watch that was kind of the thing to do. And people get mad sometimes. People get upset because I was recording them. And look, hey, I don't want to piss somebody off that's already getting screwed over by the police, right? Like, I don't want them to turn their anger against me. We've had drunk people try to start fights with us over it and stuff. It's like, this ain't worth worth it to me. Right. So I always say to somebody, hey, is it okay if I record this? And if they're cool with it, I stay and I record it. If they're like, no, don't record me, I'll turn around and walk away.
What are you recording, bro?
If they don't want it, I'll walk away. Look, I got other things to do. There's other people out there that do want this
I can save people who care about it.
Right. So anyway, I ask that question, and then I'll offer them some Know Your Rights stuff. If I got it in my back pocket, I'm like, here, man, check this out. So like when the cop comes up to the window and gets the license, and as soon as the cop walks away, I'm like, hey, man, hand them the Know Your Rights info so they can read it, while the cop's in the other. Anyway, this guy's like, I don't remember how it happened, but he was willing for me to get into the cab of his truck with him, and I actually sat in the cab of his truck and recorded the police from inside dude's truck. It was crazy. I thought for sure the cops were going to try to get me for interfering with an investigation, and they didn't say anything about it.
And
it was wild.
You mentioned this little handout, and I want to mention this one thing is Delete Laws has this trifold. It's a 6 case laws that are perfect for almost any scenario for when you get pulled over. And,
nice.
And the best place you can get is deletelaws.com, and you can get it for free.
That's laws with a Z?
With a Z.
Okay.
Yeah, and you can get it for free, and you can print it out yourself.
That's sweet.
And yeah, it's pretty cool. I want to get a bunch of copies when I have some money and just start handing them out. They do cite a lot of California laws, but I think it still applies to over here. So yeah, we need to get people informed of their rights, because people just give it up. They just they start talking and they
don't know their rights.
Yeah.
They don't teach that in government school. Surprise. Right. So back to this story here from MSN. The guy he didn't get pulled over. He was in a passenger seat, but he was recording or video streaming, and they tried to grab his phone, and then he sued. And now this case is going up to the appellate court level because a lower court ruled in favor of the police.
Go figure.
7 federal appellate courts have affirmed there is a First Amendment right to film the police, but all said there can be reasonable restrictions. So it's not clear yet what that means, as the Supreme Court hasn't ruled. The attorney, one of the attorneys in this case, Calvert, or an expert, said that ambiguity can be exploited by authorities. He said the reasonableness, what's a reasonable limitation, is a slippery concept.
Yeah.
The National Press Photographers Association wrote an amicus brief in support of the man, Sharp, saying that, quote, if anything, the immediacy offered by live streaming weighs in favor of its First Amendment protection because the technology offers a uniquely unfiltered view into events as they unfold and serves to protect the material from being deleted, modified, or otherwise suppressed. So I'm glad to see the National Press Photographers Association weighing in on this question. The number here is 603-283-6160. We got more on this story here, including more of what this a-hole judge had to say about it in moments. You can also share
stacked against us, guys,
your thoughts. The number is 603-283-6160. You got to exercise your rights if you want to keep them.
We have some good news. The indictments against Ross Ulbricht in the District of Maryland were dismissed with prejudice, meaning they can never be refiled. This is especially good because those indictments contain the only charge ever made that Ross engaged in murder for hire. This was a serious allegation that Ross Ulbricht denies. It was never prosecuted or ruled on by a jury, but was trumpeted by the federal government and the media as if it were proven fact. The Maryland court held these indictments for almost 5 years, poisoning Ross's case and leaving him under a cloud of unproven allegations. As explained in Ross's appeal to the Supreme Court, the fact that the judge used these allegations to give Ross a draconian sentence of double life without parole violated his Sixth Amendment right to a jury trial. Judges are required to issue sentences based on convictions decided by a jury, not unproven allegations never even charged at trial. Although this is a positive development, the dropped indictment will not set Ross free. Now, a presidential pardon is Ross's only hope of freedom. Sign the petition at freeross.org. freeross.org.
From Feature Story News in San Francisco, I'm Ira Spitzer. French President Emmanuel Macron and U.S. President Joe Biden have praised the strong alliance between their two countries after a meeting at the White House. As the first state visit of the Biden administration, it signifies the importance of the relationship to Washington. FSN's Kate Fisher reports.
With the exit of the UK from the European Union and the retirement of Germany's Angela Merkel, French President Emmanuel Macron has become an even more important ally for the US, especially as they work to support Ukraine against Russia's invasion. President Biden said the two countries were united in standing up to Putin and that he would meet the Russian president if he showed a willingness to end the war.
We're going to continue working together to hold Russia accountable for their actions.
But there were also differences of opinion. President Macron said Joe Biden's legislation subsidizing the US electric vehicle industry could put European EV manufacturers at a disadvantage. Today, Biden said he was confident the two could work out a deal.
Voting has begun in the Indian state of Gujarat, which is also Prime Minister Narendra Modi's home ground. Experts say these state elections serve as a litmus test for the upcoming national elections in 2024. Sriyoshi Mukherjee reports.
Political analysts say Prime Minister Modi's Hindu nationalist party, the Bharatiya Janata Party, is expected to win its 7th consecutive term in Gujarat. The BJP has also not lost a state election in Gujarat since 1998, and Mr. Modi was the chief minister of the state for almost 13 years till he was elected as the Prime Minister of India in 2014. But this time around, experts say the BJP is facing some heat from the Aam Aadmi Party. Only formed 10 years ago, they are currently the governing party in Delhi and Punjab, and they appear to be the main opposition party to the BJP in Gujarat. The results of this election will come out on the 8th of December. Political experts say an unanticipated slip at a state level may lead to a tough competition for the BJP nationally in 2024.
U.S. stocks ended lower Thursday at the start of December. Fears of a recession continue despite easing inflation and signs of a slower pace of rate increases later this month. FSN's Jody Jacobs reports from New York.
The S&P 500 slipped 0.2%, while the Dow Jones Industrial Average erased nearly 300 points, with the Nasdaq up slightly by 0.13%. In other market news, the US dollar index fell to a 3-month low. Initial jobless claims, the most timely snapshot of the labor market, came in at 225,000 in the week ending November 26. A decrease of 16,000 from the previous week.
From Bureaus Worldwide, this is FSN.
Got Telegram? You can follow our channel there and discuss show prep with other listeners at telegram.freetalklive.com.
It's Free Talk Live. You can bring up anything here. The number is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. Here tonight, it's Ian.
And Joa.
And you can join us online anytime. Just head over to freetalklive.com and enjoy the features that we have there for you. By the way, I want to say thanks to the folks over at Bullion Max. We've got some amazing offers on some of the most stable assets in recorded history. You know what's not stable? the U.S. dollar and other centralized forms of government monies. What can you do, though? You can get yourself out of the dollar and get into gold and silver and start with their Silver Starter Kit at employee pricing. All you have to do is go to bullionmax.com/FTL. It's 5 ounces of the most desirable silver products, and they're throwing in a free gold back. We've talked we've talked a lot about the gold back here on Free Talk Live. I actually just gave one out as a tip the other night. We went to a local restaurant, got some takeout on the way to come do the show, and I always ask, I like to give a decent cash tip to somebody, but I always ask, hey, do you like gold? And usually they say yes. After being confused,
Why not?
After being confused for a moment, because usually they don't get asked that question. And I show it to them like, hey, yeah, this is real gold. I'm just going to add it to your tip. Well, apparently somebody we know I think you used to know this guy. You used to live on a farm with him or whatever.
Yep.
A guy named Nick. He sent a message saying that he got a text message from the girls that work at this place, because he used to work there, and they were all excited talking about this gold back that somebody had left them in the tip jar. And I guess maybe they knew about him through him or something. I don't know. But they knew to send him a message. It was just funny. Like I didn't expect to have that bounce back to me, but it was like the same night I heard from somebody about it. So,
That's so cool.
It's cool that like it gets conversation.
Actually, the young
started.
people seem to get more thrilled about it too.
Really?
Yeah, because they never see anything like it, and they know that it can't be taxed.
It's such a cool outreach tool, I think, to get people thinking about real money. Anyway, you get one for free with the Silver Starter Kit. Just go to bullionmax.com/FTL and you get 5 ounces of silver as well at employee pricing. It's bullionmax.com/FTL. By the way, there's only one per household on that deal, so make sure you get that.
Hey, silver and gold are up. Silver's up, I think, 10% today.
You never know where it's going to stop.
Let's go.
All right, let's go back to the phones here to your calls and thoughts. We're talking about recording the police in an interesting story that is apparently going to an appeals court where the government is arguing that live streaming is somehow different from recording and therefore should be restricted because officer safety.
Yeah.
But first, let's talk to David in New Mexico. You're on Free Talk Live. Go ahead, David.
Yeah, 2 questions that are in my mind right now for Joa, and let me I get it in. Let me go to the previous or to a previous related incident to clarify something that's been on my list for ever since then. You went into a federal courthouse and they told you had to show ID, and you disputed that, and it turned out that you were correct. And I never did figure out whether that was a federal courthouse rule specific to that federal courthouse, or that they were claiming anyway that turned out not to be true, or if the fact that you don't have to supply ID to go into that federal courthouse applies to all federal courthouses.
That's a good question.
It is a good question, and I actually have seen a lot of auditors go into federal courthouses without showing ID and recording.
Recording?
Yes.
In federal courthouse?
Yes, but it's very rare to see it. It's almost like they were just doing a tour. They weren't like, and it wasn't, and I've never seen anyone have to been forced to show ID to get into federal courthouse. This is, I think, unique to New Hampshire because I haven't seen it anywhere else. You should not have to give up your Fourth Amendment right to exercise your first.
I know I went into the federal courthouse in Albuquerque, and they asked or told me to show ID. I didn't dispute it. I had bigger things to do at the moment, but they did request, demand, expect ID in the federal courthouse in Albuquerque. Oh, and let me interject, and this is related to the next. That question that I asked you is related to the next one, and let me interject that I did have the privilege of going to jail in Albuquerque for recording the cops here in Albuquerque. It was. I've told you that several times. I won't waste your time on that, but I've had that experience. Back to the same question, 2 applications. Do you know at the federal courthouse ID question, is that a law, a federal law, or just a courthouse rule? And the same question applies to the video recording or recording in the courthouse on your recent case.
Yeah.
Are they, when they claim that it's not, that you have to have permission, are they standing on a court rule or on a state statute?
Right. So actually, when I go back to the federal court for a second, yes, they did approach me maybe 2 or 3 times ago when I went to federal court, and they said to me, the sheriff directly, not the sheriff, the marshal, Joe, he came up to me and said, you know what, you're right, you don't have to show ID. Then, weirdly enough, I ran into him at a restaurant. Okay.
Really?
Right after the NHPR debate outside, that whole debacle with Hassan. Right. We went out to eat. And I ran into him there outside, and the Marshal Joe, he just starts talking to me about that business. Like, oh, you know what? Hey, I just want to let you know, next time you go, you do have to show ID. And I'm like, dude, I'm about to eat like lunch. What are you doing? Anyways, I ignored him, and I definitely absorbed what he said. And then I went to the court afterwards, later on, and they demanded ID. And one other person that was with me too was denied entry. But I heard that several people that went into the court did not have to show ID, were not ID'd, including you, Ian.
Oh no, I showed.
You did?
ID. Yeah, I got a place to be, man. I don't have time to sit around and wait.
I wasn't sure if it was you or
they might waylay you for a half an hour waiting on a bureaucrat to come up.
Right, but they have let me in without ID before.
Yeah, they have more than once.
Yes,
but they've never shown you the law. They've never even shown you a court order. Right?
They are in violation of my records request to show me the law that says I have to ID, which I put a request in for that. They're in violation. I could sue them right now and probably win.
You should.
Who wants to fund a federal court case right now? Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But seriously, this is not okay. You should not have to. The phrase goes is that you shouldn't have to give up one right to gain another.
Absolutely.
Right.
So once again, let me ask you though: do you know if when they at the federal courthouse or in the other application at the state courthouse or whatever your recent case is, are they standing on citing a court rule?
It's a Supreme Court ruling, and I have it right in front of me.
Whoa, not the federal level. No.
I'm not talking about the federal level. I'm talking about the district court, Supreme Court level.
Actually, the history of it was a order signed by a judge in Keene originally in 2011, I think it was. And then it got spread to the entire court system. Basically, they said, "Oh, this is a good idea," and they put this order out, as you say, by the Supreme Court level. So there actually is a written document in the case of the New Hampshire courts, and they actually have it posted in many cases. But the federal court, they haven't shown him anything.
It's strange. I actually don't have it on.
That's okay.
We don't
need the details.
Okay.
But we've seen it. We know that one exists.
Okay.
Does that answer your question, David?
Yeah, pretty well. It still leaves some questions. I understand your position. We've gone to the end of what you're able to tell me now, but I would still be interested that it get pursued down to a final decisive answer as to, is this a court rule that was made up at the discretion of the chief judge of whatever given
that
court.
Needs to be determined in the federal court for sure. And right now that has not yet been determined in any way, shape, or form at the federal level. State level, yes. There are names attached to this. We know when this was put into place. It was 2011. So thank you, David, for the call tonight. And it sounds like, that may be something else to talk to John Mayer about.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. I would love to take on that case.
All right. So we got more coming up here. You can share your thoughts. The number 603-283-6160. And, maybe have an attorney come with you and also not show ID.
Absolutely.
That would be an interesting approach as well. It's Free Talk Live.
Fact. The new NSA data center in Utah requires 1.7 million gallons of water every single day to operate. Billions of Fourth Amendment violations need massive computers and the water to cool them. That water is being supplied by the state of Utah. Fact. There's absolutely nothing in the Constitution which requires your state to help the feds violate your rights. Our message to Utah: turn it off. No water equals no NSA data center. Visit offnow.org.
So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com. Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm. Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, like, do this, right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it, and once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world, so I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here, and I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit shiresociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, connect with others via the forum at shiresociety.com. That's shiresociety.com. If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com. The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount.
Our Matrix server is about as free as internet chat can be. Join the existing rooms or create your own at chat.freetalklive.com.
It's Free Talk Live. You can join the program here in these remaining moments. Maybe if you get on the phones right now. Of course, as tends to happen, everyone calls in the last 20 minutes. So we do have some calls on the line here. It's Ian and Joa in the studio. You can join us online anytime over at freetalklive.com. Don't forget, we do have our own social media platform at social.freetalklive.com. You can interact with other Free Talk Live listeners there. And thank you, by the way, to Brian Simmons, who's a Free Talk Live supporter on our AMPS program. You can join Brian, as he has done $5 a month over at amps.freetalklive.com. Advertise, market, promote, and support is what that stands for. It's a way for you to get behind what we do here on Free Talk Live to help us spread the ideas of liberty. You can do that over at amps.freetalklive.com. You get some perks like access to the AMPS-only podcast, which has the full radio show without recorded commercials every single day over at amps.freetalklive.com. That'll take you right to our Patreon where you can get signed up. Let's continue with your calls and thoughts. Jessica is in Missouri. You're on Free Talk Live. Go ahead, Jessica.
Okay, so when or if New Hampshire secedes for the United States, is you're going to have a government, or is it going to be totally anarchistic?
Well, I mean, I think a lot of us would love to have no government at some point, but when New Hampshire secedes, there's likely still going to be a New Hampshire state government.
The governor will be the president at that point.
Correct. As he once was, by the way. There was, I think it was 1784 or something when they updated the Constitution or somewhere in that
I just
time
hope
frame.
I hope we have a decent governor when we secede. Let's put it that way.
Well, I mean, it really wouldn't matter, right? Because we don't need their permission to secede. Sorry, go ahead, Jessica.
Right now, you have Sununu, and he's an right-wing Republican, and he doesn't probably want to become president of the country of New Hampshire.
No, he wants to become
I just
president of
wonder,
the entire
you know,
United States. And I would describe Sununu as more of a left-wing Republican. I mean, he's a panderer to all sides.
Why? Because he likes kids? Oh, wait, I didn't say that.
I don't know about that, but I know that he is a power freak, and he likes to arrest peaceful people for protesting peacefully in front of his home.
That is very lefty.
Well, he was pandering to the lefties during the COVID lockdowns.
I understand, but arresting people just because you don't like what they say is very lefty.
I'm sure the righties would do that too.
I know, but it's a different kind of way. I don't know. You're probably right.
Anyway, but I do agree with you that we would have a better, there would be a better governor likely by the time secession becomes possible, because by the time we have the political gumption to actually declare peaceful independence, we're going to have more free staters in the state house. We're going to have free staters as senators, and that means there's a better chance we might have a free stater as a governor at that point, or at least you'd have a governor that understands the free staters are a force to be reckoned with here and knows better than to cross them. Right. So I think that that would be the case. Go ahead.
So Ian, you're in your probably mid to late 40s now. You think this will happen within your lifetime?
You know, it's hard to know how politics and issues can go. We've seen dramatic shifts on specific issues in a period of 1 to 2 decades, just depending on which issue we're talking about. There was a good example that somebody brought up before, and I think it was drug war related, right? Like, there's been people who've changed their viewpoints dramatically on things like cannabis or for instance, psychedelic mushrooms. Now we're starting to see people shift on that issue as well. So it is possible to persuade people on this matter, and we also have the benefit of the federal government. No matter whether it's the Democrats or the Republicans that are in charge, we know they're going to get worse. We know they're going to get more tyrannical, and they're going to get more insane and more expensive and more ruling over people's lives. So they're going to help us with this, and as time goes on, it's going to get easier to talk about independence.
I'm optimistic about it. I think I'm going to throw a shot in the dark. I said 10 years. 10 years, we'll secede.
That is optimistic.
And I say that because that's when the next 2 more president elections in 10 years.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to start realizing
3 really.
Usually around three president elections.
You got 1 in 2024.
Okay.
And then
2 more president elections is probably a better way to say it.
Yeah.
Because, usually around elections, especially if you get a new incumbent, you get the incumbent and you run again, is that's when really the biggest scare tactics. It's like the second election in a president's in the term of that president.
Of course, Biden may not run again, apparently.
I hope not.
Yeah. They were talking about that on the show, I think, on Sunday night. Jessica, thanks for the call tonight. I do appreciate the questions. Let's continue here. Major Payne on the line in Michigan. Go ahead, Major.
All right, I can halfway answer you guys' question on the search factor at the federal courthouses. I've dealt with out in Billings, Yellowstone County, I'm pretty sure. I had to deal with them for, a few months, but they got a public entrance and a private entrance. All the judges and cops and lawyers, they go in the back. But in the front entrance for the public, they got a big plastic plexiglass cop cage.
Yep.
And you got to give them your ID and take everything out of your pockets and put it on this conveyor belt.
Yeah, they even want your belt at this court. You got to take your belt off.
I wish they'd just play some music for me, like sexy music or something.
Well, no, and then you got to walk through the metal detector too, just in case you did leave your.
Yep.
But so anyway, what I called in was before we had cell phones and the internet and whatnot to defend us. Back when you actually could maybe get away with having a bogus piece of paper from the insurance company if you was real broke, you know what I mean?
Okay.
There were times when these things transpired. I never did this when I was riding dirty. If I'd had a couple of beers in me or a roach or 2 in the ashtray, I would not have challenged the cops in this manner. But when they walk up, the first thing they do at night is whack you in the eye with that big mag light.
You mean shine it in your eye or actually hit you with a mag light?
So that's actually illegal from the It's illegal for them to.
Yeah.
It's
it sets you back. It puts you in the same position as the deer in the headlights.
Mm-hmm. So that's actually illegal. That's called prior restraint. They can't flash it into your eyes unless they actually intend to pursue you or to charge you with something. Yeah, it's called prior restraint.
What I used to do,
so we flash it back. We flash flashlights back at them.
Oh wow!
If they don't have any reason or cause to do it.
Yeah, that's what I'm telling you. I used to carry a little mini mag,
Mm-hmm.
and when I knew they were coming up on me, I'd turn it on and I'd put it against the side of my leg, and I'd roll down the window and I'd keep my head looking forward so they couldn't whackificate me. And when they tried to, I'd pick mine up and whackificate them.
That's hilarious.
Good for you.
You know, I'd always been concerned about that because I figured they'd play by two sets of rules and say, oh, well, if you shine light into their eyes, then you're assaulting a police officer and they'll arrest you for it. I'm surprised they don't try that crap.
I wouldn't start it. I wouldn't do it first. I would definitely do it second.
Like I said, I never did this when I was rolling dirty. But and the other thing I did.
You hear that, cops? He'll flash a flashlight if he's not dirty.
Rolling dirty.
I'm just kidding.
The other subliminal message you want to do is you don't shut your vehicle off. And that tells them in the back of your mind, hey, buddy, I'm leaving.
Okay. All right, that's cool. Thank you for the tips tonight, the suggestions, Major Payne. Appreciate it, man. The number here is 603-283-6160. There's a little bit more here to this story about the guy that got the cops tried to snatch his phone while he was live streaming. Some more of the points that the judge, who, again, ruled in favor of the police at the lower court level. This is now going up to an appeals court level. It's out of North Carolina, the Fourth Circuit. At oral argument, the judges... the appeals court, apparently, so I guess they already heard the case, seemed less interested in the First Amendment implications than the Fourth Amendment, which guards against unreasonable searches and seizures. Quote, this is from one of the judges, I guess, at the appeals court, Paul Niemeyer, said this: "It seemed to me that the issue we have in this case is what may the police do to persons that are subject to a traffic stop? What rights does an officer have to maintain control of the circumstances?"
He doesn't have any rights. He has privilege to, assess the situation anyways.
Judge Julius Richardson agreed, noting that passengers at a traffic stop could be asked to get out of the car or keep their hands visible. Well, if your hands are on your cell phone, then they're visible. Tutt argued that was irrelevant because the officers, I guess it's the attorney, didn't suggest they needed to restrain Sharp or see his hands. They only wanted to stop him from live streaming.
Correct.
Quote, "We think this falls well within the kinds of things that are off limits," he said. I'm not sure what that means. But the expert in policing and the Constitution at Howard University School of Law said the Supreme Court has given law enforcement great leeway when the First and Fourth Amendments intersect. She said, "You would think combined they would create a super amendment. They have not. Instead," she said, "police can then argue their actions were not about speech, but instead controlling a possible crime scene and potential criminals." Quote, "Officers basically get to subvert the First Amendment by couching it in Fourth Amendment terms and allow the court to undermine First Amendment rights." So this is going to be a story worth keeping our eyes on. I hope that we will hear updates about this in the future. If you guys are out there paying attention to it and you want to make sure it gets covered, feel free to call in as time goes on, because we don't always see them, right? Like, right. There's no guarantee we're going to see the follow-up to this, but it's definitely one to keep an eye on. And we're out of time for tonight. Check out Joa over at Breaking the Flaw, his Odyssey and YouTube channel.
Thank you, Ian.
And you'll find us back here tomorrow night online in the meantime at freetalklive.com. What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com.
How many lawyers does it take to change a light bulb? None. they'd rather keep their clients in the dark. There are too many lawyer jokes to count. However, there are some lawyers with more noble intentions. At the